What's up, brother?
Hello.
Hey,
Hello.
brother.
Welcome to another episode. This was an interesting one putting together, but again, thank you very much. Last minute notice, Cody, for coming on here. Uh, to be fair, Jacob did warn me. Drivers can get busy and things happen. So he
That's
said I
for
was
sure.
insane for doing this, and we're still doing it. We're still going live at 8
Still winging it
p.m.
every time.
And I want to honestly, I think you're one to blame for this, Nate. I don't want to say, but every other episode you have said who's coming on next. The last episode you did not say.
Yeah,
Because it
true.
wasn't confirmed.
Yeah.
You should have
Okay.
just said it right there. That would
And
have
I've
set
done
it
that
right in
before in the
stone.
past, and it's
I
not
don't know.
gone
And
well
then
so
you're
far.
like,
I
psych.
think that was
Yeah.
just like you broke tradition, and I think things went south.
I'm going to blame it on the time of the season because everyone's thrashing on their stuff. Like Long Beach is in what, 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
2 weeks, yeah.
Something like
Okay.
that.
You know what I mean? So actually, I think it's 3. But yeah, it's
Well, it
like,
was actually a
Yeah,
natural
even 2
disaster
weeks,
that
I guess.
messed this one up, but
good point.
we'll just go with that for now.
Shout out to Hefe Jones. I hope you're all right, buddy,
Yeah.
too.
because that shit
Those
sucks.
those videos of him picking car parts out of just like gallons of mud is crazy.
Straight
Yeah,
mud.
that's nuts.
Yeah, that's why I don't live in California, and 1,000 other reasons. But
I mean, I
good
think
luck.
nobody, when they move there, would assume that one day they wake up with like 7 inches of mud outside their house in California. But I mean,
Right?
oh,
Yeah.
I
Well,
No, it's crazy.
not everyone expects their barn to burn down either, you know. But
True.
that too.
Nope.
Yeah, So yeah, Cody
Yeah.
tonight.
yeah. So, well, let's before we introduce our guests, I would love to ask how Sara is doing. Herbie, I already know you're here, so that's a win in my book. Thank
I'm
you.
alive. I gave you
We're
a quick
doing good.
rundown on how the day went.
Although, do you want to tell me about how incredible your headphones are?
They're great.
Yeah.
10 out of 10. If anybody could buy a pair of headphones, they're called, I don't remember. I think they're Plantronics, honestly.
That's
which
probably for the
was-
best.
They're like 800 LX. I don't know what the hell they are, but 10 out of 10. These things take a beating and they just keep coming on back. It's not a problem.
Just like, yeah. How you doing, Sara?
Good, hanging in there. Too many cars, not enough time.
And there's
Work.
there's no drama going on in the drift world at all, right? It's just smooth
You know
sailing.
what? I'm so happy to report that I have no idea, Nate.
Yes. Awesome.
Just a good boy staying out of all the drama.
Okay. And
Bless up.
obviously, thank you, Coty Demster, coming here. Was a Formula Drift Pro Spec rookie last year.
Yep.
Although it'll be a fun conversation. I was thinking about how to go into that because that was I bet a learning experience for you as well. As it is
For sure.
it seems like it is, and I'm just going to say this now. Like it is so rare for rookies in Pro Spec to actually do well.
It's
Every
true.
once in a blue moon, you'll get one that's like everything goes right for them. But a lot of the time, when you guys are jumping in, it's usually something, and it's just like
Yep.
whether it's the new grip, whether it's the new power, whether it's all the changes that are done in the car, it's usually something. So I'm curious to talk to you about kind of your situation last year and kind of how that affected your season. But yeah, so let's just get into it, Cody. For starters, though, let's get into just who you are because just to get into like you and your career in drifting, where that kind of all started, bud.
Yeah. Well, we'll start off with my name because that's always an area of
You already
confusion, if
spelled
you
it
will.
wrong, so it's all good.
Well,
I didn't make it.
Coty,
I didn't
right?
do it. So, yes, I go by Coty. For anyone who actually knows me pretty well, it's Coty. Technically speaking, my mom named me Coty, but no one really calls me that. She doesn't
I
call me that
do.
anymore.
I see. I
so.
said Cody. Coty.
Coty with a T.
It's just easier to say
You said
Cody,
Cody.
though.
But
I get it.
Yeah,
I
but
get it.
that's
But
not it.
everyone else calls me Coty. So I usually say it's Coty. It's like Scotty with no S. Keeps it simple.
Scotty doesn't know.
But Scotty doesn't know. Neither does Coty. I have no idea what's going on. We're just here. But yeah, if you want to start like my drifting
yeah.
beginnings, if you will,
Let's get
I
started
was
on
in
that.
2017. I've always liked drifting, though. It's cool, but never thought I could get into it. And
Right.
I'll be one to actually admit it, but I watched an Adam LZ video when he got his S13 and just kind of started doing it. I figured
I
I
remember
could just buy
those.
a car and try it. So I bought a $1,100 BMW 325i for 1,100 bucks. Bought it on Thursday night, left it on the trailer, and Friday night went to a local track and tried it out. And I did awful, and I had a blast. Um, then from there, just kind of kept growing, and I've had the BMW, a couple of G35 sedans, 6 speeds, and JZ S13. But then I got to my Corvette and never looked back. So it's kind of
So
the
obviously
basics
you've
of it.
gone through a bunch of different vehicles. What made you settle on the Corvette?
I drove one. That was pretty much it. I had my S13 and I wanted to start doing competition driving.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty basic stock 1J, super simple, like cheap arms and suspension, ISR coilovers, like the nicest part on it.
Oh,
And
really?
I drove my friend's stock C6 and it was way faster, way more grip. And
Yeah.
all he had done was drilled some holes in the knuckles and that was it. And he had AC. So I was like, this is a
Hell yeah.
win-win-win. So I bought this car from Copart. It was 3,300 bucks, salvage title, not
Wow.
running,
Yep.
kind of a piece of junk, but it was cheap and it had transmission engine was there, it just wasn't running. So fixed it up, blew that engine up the first year I had it, and I've gone through a few other engines since then. But
Yep.
yeah, it's worked so far. I like it a lot. I love the look of it. They are super super fast for what they are, for how simple they are.
Yeah.
This is actually the first year I've ever had any rear suspension arms on it at all. The
Really?
whole Pro Am and everything was just stock suspension in the back with coilovers, and that was it. And it was still plenty fast.
Wow.
So
Wow.
how did you make the jump from just like loving drifting and like seeing an Adam LZ video into competition? Like you realize you kind of skipped a part where it's like now you're at the highest
We'll get
level of
into it.
drifting competition. Like that's crazy.
So, as you guys probably know, my friend Derek Madison is local STL boy. Um, so I watched him get into it when he first got his license. Like, this is insane. This guy is crazy. He's going to spend all this money to go travel and drift and whatever. And I was my little stock S13, 1J, thinking I was super cool, but
Right.
nowhere near as fast as his car. And Scotch, the owner of Drift STL, actually pushed me to do the local competitions. So I started
Yeah.
doing that. Did pretty well, pretty quick. Got some podiums, first place, second place. I think I got second in the first championship series we had here. And it just kind of fed me the fire of what I wanted to do. So I did LS Fest and started doing the Riverside 10Ks and 50Ks, and
Yeah.
decided I wanted to get deeper and deeper into it and waste all of my money doing this. So that's where I'm at still. Still have the same car. I've had this car since 2000, technically 2019 at the end of the years when I bought it. And then
Yeah.
2020, I first started driving it. So this chassis is 5 years old drifting. It was wrecked salvage title when I bought it. And it's still wrecked salvage title car, but it works. So
Hey, now you don't feel as guilty putting it, little in the wall or in another driver. It's not as bad then.
I have never felt guilty about hurting this car. It was a piece of junk when I bought it. So it is what it is. But
Hell
yeah, so I did those events, and then I wanted to do Pro Am. So I went to Full Lock Drift. That's ran by the M-Spec boys, and
Yeah.
Josh loves a part of it, and Robert Thorne. That series is really cool, and earned my license through there. Had a lot of fun.
Hell yeah.
And then got in the FD, and a big part was teaming with Derek, which you guys probably see me team up with
Yep.
him in the pits, and
Mhm.
we shared the same title sponsors, had the same livery, and he kind of was my mentor for the whole thing. So that was super, super helpful.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I got you. That's cool, man. Hell yeah. So obviously you I think I first saw you at LS Fest. It was a while ago, but you were doing the competitions there and stuff, and
yeah,
I remember you had like the big boy wheels on, and
yeah.
you were having some fun with that car, but kind of progressed because I feel like even there to your jumping into prospect, you did a lot of learning on developing your side of the driving in the car since when I originally saw you competing in like an LS Fest and stuff.
Yeah, so my first year of LSS was 2021, I believe, and I was terrible.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of fun, and I was on limiter pretty much the whole track. So I drove, got a huge crowd around it the whole time because it was on
Yeah.
a stock ECU, just on limiter, being crazy.
Right.
So that since then, the sim is definitely, I'm one of them sim kids. I don't really play online much. I just do it a lot by myself. I get on and the kids go to sleep and it's 10, 11 o'clock at night and I jump on for an hour or so.
Nice.
But it definitely helped push me to try harder, to do crazier things and learn the basics a little more. So yeah, definitely progressed a lot in the 4 years, I guess.
Right.
We ran into each other a couple times.
Yeah, we've been there. I'm still not the greatest at the sim by any means. I'm started driving a real car and then got in the sim when there's always the lack of G forces, and you could tell it's apparent.
Yeah, we did a bunch on Utah. It was good.
Yeah, about 60% of the time I'm great, and then
Yeah.
40% I just want to throw it away. So
Listen, that's also the legal time where you can, if you do, crank a couple beers and other recreational activities if you choose. And nobody's gonna bat an eye at you.
It's true. But so what's kind of the sim setup? And how have you been able to kind of feel like it's somewhat like driving your car, or like what do you use this sim for? I guess I could say.
So mine is actually it's a direct drive wheel, but it's a sim experience. I forget the actual model number. I've had it for a long time. It's a pretty unknown wheel. It was the cheapest direct drive wheel I could find in 2000, I think 18 or 19. I think it's probably 19 when I bought it.
Yeah.
It's not the greatest. It's pretty difficult to set up, and it's a lot of foreign language you got to try to translate to figure out what it's trying to do. So I really want to upgrade it sometime, but I honestly haven't had time to play on it since everything going on with the fire and all that. I haven't jumped in the thing in probably 5 or 6 months at least. So eventually upgrade it, but for now it's that, and then it's Fanatec pedals and shifter, and pretty relatively basic setup.
100%.
Nice.
So if you want to, if you're comfortable with it, do you want to tell us what happened with the fire?
Sure, I can go into that. So the first week of this year in January, obviously, I was charging a lithium-ion battery, it was a jump box battery that it was, like a jump box to like a car charger or a car jump box, the little mini ones. And the charger port was a little janky on it, didn't really work all the time. It's a little USB port. So I charged it with a car charger, like a 12-volt trickle charger, plenty of times before, and never had an issue. I did that. It's on like a 0.4 amp trickle charge. It's also, I think, like 4 degrees, and maybe it might have been negative degrees here. And the battery apparently exploded at some point in time in the morning. And on the same shelf that has the battery was charging was a gallon of diesel fuel in the jug, and that lit up and caught the wall on fire. Luckily, I was home by chance. I drive a dump truck for a living, so we were off work because it was snowing and terrible weather.
Right.
I was actually going to the store, and I went outside and seen smoke billowing out of the sides of the walls and out of the window, and tried to use some fire extinguishers on it. I used 4 of them, got it contained where I could through the window, and then just started shoveling snow in because the garden hoses wouldn't do anything, so they're frozen solid.
Yep.
It sucked. It sucked a lot just kind of watching your car on there and everything I've kind of worked hard for. Sitting there engulfed in black, thick smoke. You couldn't take 2 steps in there without immediately wanting to like vomit. It was insanely thick smoke, super, super hot. I've never dealt with anything like that, so I didn't really know what to expect. I thought I could kind of walk in there, grab some fire extinguishers, walk out, but that wasn't possible.
Wow.
It took, I think, about 15 minutes for the fire department to show up. I had the flames knocked out for the most part. When they walked in, they opened the garage door with the manual release because all the electricity out there was burned up or just didn't work. So they opened that up, and there was no open flames, but there was still flame inside the wall between the insulation and the outer wall.
Oh, wow.
So they tore that whole wall down inside and just sprayed water all over all of my stuff, which I understand. I'm glad they did, but it's definitely hard to kind of watch all of your spare parts and boxes and tools and everything just get soaked in water and flames and smoke, and it sucked. It was terrible, to be quite honest. But we're about 2.5 months into it, and so far they have removed like 70% of the items out there to go clean. They take all the stuff out of the shop, they bring it to a facility to clean with like ultrasonic cleaners and stuff, and they store it there until the building's done. But the insurance has been insurancing, if you will. So they haven't started on the building at all. So it's just a shell that smells awful, and some of my stuff's still in there. it's going to be a long process. I don't know how
Yeah.
long it's going to take to recover stuff. But
Right.
we're
Wow.
here.
Damn.
Yeah, but
The
That's
car
crazy.
got
so
pretty torched on the one side, right? Like
it did. So the car was about probably 6 feet away from the source of the fire. Um, so the hatch was sitting right next to the hatch is pretty much gone. The whole right side of the car, the wrap is melted and stuff. Honestly, most of it's kind of unscathed. But one thing I didn't know that I learned is smoke itself is super corrosive. So any bare metal parts, anything that is electronic, anything like that is basically rusty or junk. I didn't know how serious that was until you kind of let things sit for like a few weeks and they
Mhm.
don't work anymore. So, like I had a big torpedo heater thing in the ground and that's got an electric motor on it. It worked for the
Yeah.
first few days after that, and then after that, it doesn't even turn anymore. The
Wow.
corrosion is pretty serious. So
Wow.
everything that wasn't painted was rusty ball of junk.
Wow.
I had 3 spare blocks in there. All 3 of those blocks are junk. The engine that's in here now, I haven't torn it apart yet because I honestly just I don't know. It's
Yeah.
stressful, so I haven't done it.
Yeah.
I need to. I need to inspect it and see if it's good inside because the cylinder walls of the other 3 engines are just a ball of rust.
Wow.
So yeah, it
That's
sucks,
crazy.
but I'm trying to keep it positive here.
Right.
Not so here, just in life in general. So we're moving on.
Mm-hmm.
The
Well,
parts that are lost, and kind of got to keep going.
yeah,
Yeah.
I get that.
Dang.
That's a tough one. Then you know,
Yeah,
like you said, insurance is always insurancing. So,
Mhm.
um,
yeah.
but I mean, like, so are you still kind of in the like figuring out where the program is for even the year? Is that kind of what the phase is right now? Is just figuring out.
So I'm kind of an idiot in that sense. I'm not stupid. Like I won't leave my family struggling by any means.
Yeah.
But I will try as hard as I can. I'll do whatever I can to make it work. So there's never a point that I thought I'm not going to make it. As soon as I saw the car was still
Right.
relatively okay, I knew I can get the car
Yeah.
together and figure it out. So we are running this year, absolutely.
Cool.
It's going to be a lot of fun. I got some new parts, new partners, and
Yeah.
yeah, it should be a lot of fun. A little bit back to the fire thing. So what the
Mm,
fire investigator told me while she was going through stuff is that lithium-ion batteries are becoming more and more prevalent in fires. And the biggest reason is because they're never supposed to be in below freezing temperatures, which I never
Oh,
knew that.
yeah.
I'd
really?
all my
I
Milwaukee
figured they
batteries
would be
outside
better at.
charging. No, she said don't do that. She said the number one fire cause from a lithium that she's seen is actually cordless lawnmowers. They use them in the summer and they sit them on the charger and they should sit in the garage in the charger forever. And it gets below
Mm,
freezing, and then the charger kicks in, and then that can get things a little wacky, and then they explode. So what she said is to always charge batteries, preferably inside, unhook them from the charger, and store them in a climate-controlled environment, if you will.
yeah.
So yeah, a lot of learning.
Huh.
But
Oh,
that's my little PSA is
Yeah.
don't leave batteries outside in the charger if it's below freezing. I've done it for years, never had an issue. So I'm
Right.
not one to like preach and like I don't do that, but I've always had my batteries in the charger because if
Yeah.
I use them, I want it to be charged.
I'm
And then you start looking
panicking
around.
because
Yeah,
my
it's great.
Well, I guess. Bye. Oh man. Well, hopefully they come back in. That's unfortunate. All right, let's get everybody back in.
okay.
Sorry about
It
that.
happens, by the way. Every now and
I've seen
again.
it. I've watched the show.
Oh,
It's like
okay.
any
All
show.
right. All right.
Yeah.
I was saying like my drift car right now is outside, has been outside all winter on a trickle charger because I don't have a shop anymore.
So
So
if it's a regular like lead acid battery, it's really no concern. But if it's a lithium
okay.
ion battery, that's where the concern comes
All
in.
right. So like all the
Because
drill batteries, my jump pack, like
yeah,
all that. Yikes.
yeah, you start
it's one
looking
of
around your
those.
house, it's literally everything that you have that's cordless that actually
Yeah.
works good is probably lithium ion.
It's
So
Interesting.
definitely one of the scenarios I feel like where it's like you always like think to yourself like that could never happen or it won't happen to me type style. And
yeah.
now unfortunately, but fortunately, like you're the PSA face of keeping
Yeah.
keep that shit
Silver
like
lining,
locked up.
if I can help somebody not have
Yeah.
that happen, then that's cool.
I,
Right.
yeah, just think about all
I've
of
done
my
it.
buddies' garages and stuff in Jersey and like all the Milwaukees and the
Yeah.
anti-gravity batteries and things like that and just on a charger. and it's
Yep.
below
I've
freezing.
done it my whole life with no
Yeah.
issues. But
Yeah. Yeah.
30 years
gonna
into
go-
it, we have an issue.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go take all my batteries off the charger after this. I'm like,
Holy shit.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
the
like, you've definitely heard stuff like that, like in New York, of like, like the scooters and shit like that they just explode out of nowhere for no reason. And ultimately that there is a reason, and I guess that truly was it.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
crazy.
actually, whenever it first happened, I thought the battery charger itself caught on fire, because the cords were all melted together, and it looked like that's what caught on fire. But the investigator and me found like pieces of that battery in like a 4 to 5 foot radius from it exploding, and there's little pieces of the battery in the box like scattered. So she's like, "Yeah, it exploded."
Battery by day and frag grenade by night.
yeah, dude.
That's right. And the lapse of judgment a little bit. I was working in the garage until probably 11:30 at night or so that night, and I
Yeah.
put the battery in the charger right before I went inside. So it was on the charger from 11:30, and the fire started about I think around 11:30 a.m. or a.m. the next morning, basically.
Okay.
So it was in the charger
Wow.
overnight without any issue, and
Yeah.
then it wasn't. So
Thank goodness, honestly. Like in a shitty
it could have been a lot
way,
worse for sure.
Yeah, it is a good
Yeah.
thing. If it were to happen, if it was you couldn't stop it at all, it's best that it did happen when it did.
Yeah, or if I was working, if I was
Yeah.
driving my truck and I wasn't home, that the whole place would have burned down for sure.
Yep.
Wow.
Again, kind of, I have a lot to say because I've gone through a lot through this,
Yeah.
if you will.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So another thing I didn't know was how hot smoke was, which sounds kind of dumb,
Okay.
but the fire was all the way against the wall by the window, and
Yeah.
it busted the window out and burned that whole wall up. But the smoke damage in the top peak of the trusses looked like there's an open flame on like all of them at the very peak. Down at the bottom of the trusses, you can't there's no standing or anything. The top of the smoke it's so hot. It actually charged that, and the fire investigator said if there was a hole, if it would have burned a hole through the roof, then that would have probably lit up, and then the whole shop would have been on fire, and it would have been gone.
Wow.
More oxygen, and it would
so
have just really ate.
Yeah, I never knew how hot smoke got. Like everything in the rafters, so I had body panels and spare parts and
Yeah.
any banner on the wall, all the LED lights and stuff I had up top, all of that melted. Like I don't know how hot it was, but gone.
That's
all of it's
crazy.
just trashed.
Yeah.
And then everything on the ground is pretty much okay. So
That's-
PSA, again,
Yeah.
you probably learned in elementary school to always crawl if you get in a fire and you're in a smoky room, to go on the ground, and that's why.
yeah.
Because you will you'll not live through that. So
Wow.
Yeah,
It's-
you
more
turned
PSAs.
Turning
Yeah.
that place into straight charcoal. You were
Right.
This
you were
is
just
like-
trying to get ready
It
for
was.
Yeah.
is the barn itself like toast, or is it?
That's a cool part about dealing with insurance. I don't really know.
Wow.
My contractor and the adjuster that came out think that it needs to be torn down and start from scratch.
Yeah.
For sure, not 9 trusses need to be replaced. There's 2 left, and the 2 ends basically are
Yeah.
safe, they say.
Yeah.
But the other 9 need to be replaced. The whole roof needs to be replaced. The whole wall on the one side.
Wow.
All the siding needs to be removed because it's a log home, and the part of our HOAs, the shops have to match the house, so it has like log siding. So
Oh.
all the smoke went through the log siding, so all the siding on all 4 corners are going to be taken off.
Wow.
So insurance basically wants to rebuild it and take the trusses off and put new trusses in and kind of slap some paint on it, call it good. And my contractor is not thrilled with that, so that's why we're waiting. So
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
tough.
and there's the whole personal property, so all the items inside. We haven't even started that list yet, and that's
Yeah.
a lot of stuff. Because I previously, before I drove a truck, I was a mechanic for pretty much all my life. I started trucking last year. So I had my whole toolbox that I've had at my house that I built the car with originally. I had my toolbox that I put in the trailer. I had all my tools from being a mechanic for a living. So
Yeah.
I had 6 toolboxes out there full of tools.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
All that is just, everything is so covered in soot. It's like grease. It doesn't like wipe off easy. You have to
Oh, yeah.
scrub it with soap and then it comes off. But then it still smells like smoke.
Yep.
And then anything electronic is basically junk because internally it's corroded. So all the power tools, any computer, anything electronic is junk.
Yeah.
So,
And like you
yeah,
said
it's,
too, like how hot the smoke was, it probably just heat soaked itself on top of the corrosion. Like, wow,
Mhm.
Dang.
that
it's
sucks,
a-
man.
it's something I hope no one ever deals with because it's in my all of reality, my situation wasn't as bad as it could have been. It could have been way, way worse. I'm very thankful that I was able to catch it when I did, but it still sucks. It's still a lot that I would imagine it'll probably be a year or better before we get this all figured out.
Oh yeah.
I've had some friends had some similar issues that they said up to like 3 years before they finally figured out personal property stuff. So
Wow. Yeah.
it sucks, but you know,
If
it's
it makes
life.
you feel any better, which it probably doesn't, this season in FD, when you make it, everyone is going to be rooting for you. They love an underdog, and you have like one of the best underdog stories. Like, if you can get any positivity out of that, and the fact that you like seem like you've got it together pretty much, and you're like, no, we're building this car, like we're showing up. We love that. Jared's going to love that story.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hell yeah.
we'll see. You know, I'm a pretty positive person. Anyone that knows me, I don't really
Yeah.
dwell on negative things. I don't really, it's not my vibe. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. If
I
it
get it.
works out, great. I know FD's really pushing on if you don't finish well in points, then tough break. Which I fully understand. It's the top ranked or top ranked drifting series in America, so it's tough. There's a lot of people that want to be in it. I'm super thankful to be in it, and I don't want to leave. So I'm gonna give it everything I have, which sounds corny, but it's just reality. I really want to stay in this. I really like it, so
Yeah.
we'll be out there. We're gonna have some fun.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think you genuinely were coming into your own and really getting dialed with that chassis by Utah
Totally.
last year. I know at the
Yeah,
beginning
we
of
had
last year you
dumb issues.
definitely had some crazy issues, didn't you? You had some motor issues right at the beginning.
Yeah, we could talk on all that too.
I want to
Yeah.
hear about it.
And
Like, give me a little recap of that.
I think what really like kind of like made me have like a silver lining for you was seeing you at New Jersey before FD New Jersey actually started. You were on the backtrack, you were there, getting that thing dialed.
That backtrack is sick.
I'm
Oh,
glad to
yeah.
That
hear
place
it.
is awesome.
I'm glad to
I
hear
have
it.
so
Awesome
many
thing.
laps on that thing.
That
Yeah.
place is so much fun. It annihilated tires back there, but it's super,
Mhm.
super fun.
It's a little porous. to
Yeah.
say
Yeah, a
the
little.
least.
It's all right. It flows good. I got plenty of testing in. You know, if I wouldn't have done those test laps, maybe the engine would have lasted through top 32, but
Yeah.
You
what are you
know.
going to do? I had fun, you know? So,
Right.
yeah, we can go through the season if you want. I can kind of go through.
Yeah, because
I can,
you had some interesting scenarios where you were swapping blowers with people and like doing all kinds of
yeah,
crazy stuff. So like,
you
obviously,
know,
okay, before this season, you had
living
a
life.
pretty reliable car though, right?
Yeah, so I'll go over the car a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's a last year and actually the last 3 years total. The car's been basically the same exact setup. It is a stock Z06 transmission, stock Z06 differential, a stock torque tube been rebuilt, and then a LS3 based engine, forged internals, and an American force induction blower. Um, Relatively simple, but it made some really good power.
Yeah.
I forgot to mention it has actually cylinder heads in the cam from Matt Field from years ago.
Oh wow.
It's a CBM Pro X setup that I bought from him off eBay. Very random thing, but so those parts made it back in the FD. So he's like, "That's crazy." But
That's funny.
the car made a lot of power, which is kind of why I was able to make it work with the stock transmission and differential.
Yeah.
It made like a little over 940 something, I think it was.
Yeah.
So it made a good amount of power for what it was, but the stock differential gearing really, really sucked.
Yeah, you're in
To
second
do on a
gear
Corvette,
most of the time.
it's usually third, but
okay.
it's not happy.
Yeah,
Right.
and
Utah's the only track that was like decent with gearing and not even good.
Right.
So we'll go back. So the car itself, I wanted to bring it to FD with the car that I've already like tested and knew really well. So that was the plan. And Josiah from FTF released the Pro Kit, which moves the rack underneath when you use the E46 rack.
Yeah.
And one thing I've done on this car previously through Pro Am and stuff is I killed racks a lot. I think I was on my 5th steering rack. And if you know anything about a Corvette of changing the rack, they suck to change and they're pretty expensive. So I was over that. So as soon as he said he's got this set up to run an E46 rack and a bolt underneath, so you could change it in probably 5 minutes. I was all on board. So I bought that and it kind of got stuck in the shipping in customs. So I didn't get that kit until I think it was 3 weeks before Atlanta. And I sold my old angle kit already. So I had no other option. It was either get that kit on or find some stock knuckles and drill them and hope for the best.
Right.
But the biggest thing with that kit is you have to build a driver's side header, and I'm not a great fabricator. I can't do that. So I had to get the kit put on and then send it to my buddy to build a header. And I didn't get the car back until I think a week and a half before Atlanta. And we pretty much had to leave, I think, 2 days after we got it back.
Yeah.
And it still had to get wrapped and all that. So we brought the car to Atlanta not ready at all, which sucked a lot. The suspension wasn't set up. The spring heights of the shock heights were way off. So the car was a monster truck. And then during practice in Atlanta, it poured rain. I got 3 whole laps of practice and then went into seating bracket. And I didn't know, but they dried the track apparently, which you could see in the live stream. So they dried the track with big blowers. So I sent it down the hill thinking it was still wet, and it wasn't. So I pulled the handbrake and the car straightened up immediately. And I bobbled and drove like absolute garbage, and couldn't clean it up because I didn't know what that track was like, half dry, half wet. I was used to it completely wet and wasn't used to the car. So
Yeah.
that whole Atlanta was a good time to hang out and cheer on my buddy Derek Madison. It was not a good time to drive for me.
Well, that's a really tough track to learn, and then add in the weather. That's like the hardest situation ever, and add in that you hadn't had any testing with the car. Like, I wouldn't beat yourself up too bad about that.
Yeah, one other issue is I guessed the gearing way off because I had 2 differentials to choose from. And basically my wheel speed is either 148 miles an hour or 122, I think it was. I guess the 148 at first, and that was way wrong. I tried the 122. It got me closer, but in the wet, it was just unlimited the whole time.
Yeah.
So all that to get better. That's why we only got 3 laps of practice because we swapped dips in between, and that takes a while on a slack drift. So learned a lot. Drove terribly, but had a good time. That track is super cool. So then we'll go to Jersey. If you want to just go through all 4 rounds real quick.
Yeah.
Actually felt super good. I went to that backtrack, like we said, and dialed in the car quite a bit. I had new coilovers on it that actually fit and worked. Suspension was dialed in.
It was lower. It looked
Way
good.
lower.
It looked good.
Like
It
looked
like you
good.
pulled up. I was like, "Holy shit! Look at this thing."
Yeah, this thing was supposed to look like that the whole time.
Yeah.
So I actually felt really good. We got through seating bracket, won my first FD battle there, which is super cool. Went into top 32 practice that morning, and I think the 4th lap of practice, I was chasing Rudy Hansen and was feeling really good behind him. And then the car stopped doing anything, and smoke started billowing out, and I figured out pretty quick that the engine blew up. So that sucked. I was feeling super solid there. Gearing was mediocrely okay, so I kind of could drive through it. Yeah, also going back a little bit to Atlanta, going back to how kind of not ready the car was, my tuner, Steve from Divulge, actually tuned this car on a dyno in Atlanta from an airplane, which was insane. So he logged in. We couldn't do like a live, whatever it's called. He couldn't actually log in. So I was just emailing him files. He's emailing me a file back. And we did that. And we did that the night before seating bracket. And he tuned it from an airplane. So anyways, in Jersey, Steve was there and he's like, "Hey, your oil pressure is pretty awful. You want me to turn safeties on?" And I told him, "Don't do that." And lessons learned, I guess, if you will.
Yeah, so, I mean that's the challenge you run. I mean, at least you do have the opportunity, though. I mean, you can run no safeties or no safeties.
Yeah, he's gonna ask you that again, and you're gonna say, maybe no again, but secretly there will be a safety. He'll know now, because
I have learned
it's like you want to win, and you're gonna push the thing until it goes.
Yeah.
Especially in in a circumstance where it's like I don't want to do seating bracket again.
Yeah.
Like I want to get through top 32.
Exactly.
And I want or this, that, the other thing, and I get you completely as to why you'd say no. So
yeah. Well, the other thing is you got to remember with safeties is depends on what the issue is, but for example, if it's heat, like you can create a safety to where it's just pulling power, but doesn't obviously shut the car off. Like it's just pulling a little bit of power to try and compensate so you don't melt your engine. So there's different ways you can apply safeties that won't ruin the run,
Remind me when we have Ricky Hoffman on here to talk about safeties, because I took a lap in his car at Grid Life last year, and
Yeah.
his thing was a Christmas tree. It was like, warning, warning, car shutting down, and he's just in the throttle, like through the firewall, not giving a shit.
That's
So
because Cleo gives him the option
Yeah.
to turn his safeties off, which they've worked together many times. But yeah, same thing.
unreal. Yeah. I think a lot of the drivers are like that, is what I'm getting at. But
Yeah.
before you get into the next rounds, how do you feel about the seating bracket in general?
Well, we can get into that. I think from a viewership point, it's great. The changes that they made in the rule book, which I don't know if it's released or not, so maybe I can't speak on everything.
Yeah,
I'll give a broad thing. They have changed it to where there'll be. I don't think they'd be mad, so I'm going to say it, but there's not going to be buy runs in 32 anymore. So that part's really cool.
Important.
They're trying to make it to where it's better. There's we'll just call it. There's incentives to actually run the seating bracket versus more like the pro guys that they could run one round and then bail out of the rest of it. Now there's some incentives to keep running it.
Right.
I don't know for sure, but I'm pretty sure that ProSpec is going to run the same kind of thing where there's more than one battle. I don't know exactly, but I think that's how I understood it. Don't quote me on that.
Yeah.
I think we kept ending so early for especially pro spectating. Like we always had an hour and a half, even an hour at minimum, but like hour and a half to 2 hours after you guys.
Yeah, there was so from a viewership point of view, I think it's great. Like when it, like let's say Long Beach, for instance, no one can complain about Long Beach seating bracket. It was fantastic. It was great.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
From a driver point of view, it had some flaws for sure. One big one, especially for like a rookie and pro, if you win seating bracket, you battle the 8th best guy in pro. Whereas in qualifying, you could be really good at that track and you might qualify in the top 10 and you wouldn't get stuck battling the super good guys no matter what. So you can really get stuck in that seating bracket loop. If you're constantly always battling super good guys, as your reward to winning seating bracket is you battle one of the best guys in the series.
Yeah.
It's pretty tough to get out of.
Yeah.
Pro spec, it's not as prevalent, but it's still there. And it's hard as a driver to not basically earn your spot. You just get drawn out of the hat and that's your spot and you're stuck with it, whether it's good or bad. FD is really trying to make it a better viewership point of view and better for the fans. And I fully understand it. From the driver part, it is hard to get stuck in that loop for sure.
Yeah.
I think they'll make some revisions. They'll make it better for sure. I'm kind of indifferent. I think doing more battles is cool. It's definitely harder on the car. It's definitely harder on everything, the budget, tires, everything. But it is cooler. I was generally pretty good at qualifying previously. So most places I went to competition-wise, I did pretty well in qualifying. So I was ready to qualify. And then first year in my rookie season, they said, nah, we're not doing that anymore. We'll see how this year is. I'm hoping, and I'm going to try like hell to get out of the seating bracket in Atlanta and stay out of it for the rest of the year.
Yeah. It does create a lot of pressure though, doesn't it? It's like, and then even making the top 32 and winning that top 32 battle means a lot more now.
For sure. And practice is different too, because now you're not practicing for qualifying. You're practicing for both, which is better in a lot of aspects, but most guys on the grid can chase. Like that.
Yeah. Well, that was the one thing Corey Talaska said, is that a big change in ProSpec from when you guys did run qualifying is a lot of the time, he said in the first sessions, people wanted space. And now no one wants space. Now everyone just wants to run, which is, I think fun, it's just good.
It can create some issues for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. A little damage here and there. Yeah. Coming right out of practice.
I don't have a strong yes or no on it though to give a final answer. I think it is cool. I think they'll work out some bugs and make it better. Do I think it's better than qualifying? It's hard to say. I'll let you know at the end of Atlanta seating bracket if I think it's better or not. If I win, then obviously it's the greatest decision ever, and we should keep doing that. If not, then we'll revisit it. But
I
don't know.
Where was your headspace like after the New Jersey? Like you have a blown up engine. were you like so frustrated with it, or what were your thoughts?
So with Steve telling me that, I kind of was already prepped. Like maybe this thing's not going to last. It just sucked because that was the first time. Like Atlanta was a horrible showing. Like,
Yeah.
don't watch those videos. It's bad. Don't watch them. So like getting to show that I can drive and showing that like once the cameras show up and like, hey, I'm here, I can do this, like here I am, and then having an engine failure definitely sucked. But like I said, I'm a pretty positive person, so my theory is there's nothing. I'm not going to gain anything being mad and upset and screaming and whatever.
Right.
That doesn't do me any good. So I might as well just be happy and
Yeah.
it sucks, but we'll move on. One thing that I didn't know that really kind of sucked and took some points away from me, but at least last year, I don't know how it'll be this year, but if you didn't show up to the line for your top 32 bracket, you don't get the points for it.
Correct.
So I actually told Kevin's the one who towed me off the track. So he knew I was gone, and I went up and told the booth, like, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it. Engine blew up. And then at the end of the round, I didn't get my points for top 32. I only got points for seating bracket. So that actually was the reason that I didn't make above top 32 in points rankings for this year, was because I didn't get those however many points.
Oh, wow.
So then I had to petition in this year, which kind of sucked because
Yeah.
obviously I want to drive. So it was a little
Yeah.
nerve wracking, but obviously I got in. Thanks, Kevin. But yeah, we're gonna definitely make it push harder. But that was another lesson learned. I was informed after the fact that I think it was Simon Olsen's team, I think, pushed his car to the line.
Yep.
Just to show that he was there. I didn't know that. It's a lot to learn your rookie season. There's a whole lot of information.
There's so much.
It's pretty intimidating, to be honest. Like I've driven at LS Fest where there's thousands and thousands of people around, but it's different when cameras show up. For some reason, it's I don't think I'm like a nervous person, but the cameras show up and all of a sudden, like I do stuff weird. Like I don't get it. So
Yeah.
Like my biggest hater back home might be watching this. I can't fuck up.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. A lot of haters in Warrenton, Missouri. It's a town full of 8,000 people here, so
Yeah.
you never know.
That's funny.
Yeah. But I mean, when did you end up swapping blowers? Was that the next round?
We can get into that.
Yeah.
I'll keep going.
We're like
So
leading him.
I do
I
want
know,
to
so
know
it's-
you got Ryan Jones that made a comment. Only thing hotter than that fire is Coty's. Got you. Smiling
T-shirt?
face in that sick AFI shirt. Yep.
Yeah, that's my boy.
Yeah.
All
Well.
right, so we'll continue on to St. Louis real quick. That one's a pretty quick one. For whatever reason, my alternator belt, which is so I have a supercharger that's ran off of the main belt that runs supercharger and a water pump, and that's it. And then I have a four-rib belt that ran the alternator off of the factory like AC compressor spot in LS.
Yep.
I ran the same setup for 3 years, zero issue. For some reason in St. Louis, it started losing belts, the alternator belt. It just would kick that little four-rib belt off and explode. I had a spare, I put the spare on, and that one exploded. And then I found out that Gates discontinued that belt size. So I couldn't find a belt that same size anywhere. So I literally bought every belt I could find in the St. Louis area that was close. I borrowed belts from people in the pits, and I was literally eating one belt every single lap. So what ended up happening is the battle against Nick Jimenez, which that's a boy in from Full Lock Drift. So I've driven with him before. It's going to be a fun battle.
Yeah.
And he was leading me, and he actually hit the wall at the end. So he basically zeroed out because he hit the wall and spun before the end. So all I had to do was complete a lap. I was doing the turnaround lap from there, and there's smoke just started building out of the hood, and shut the car off and looked down, and it's just oil everywhere. And what happened is the belt actually stayed on that lap because I borrowed the right size belt from I think it was Josh Stewart. So I had my original size belt, and it worked.
Wow.
But a piece of the old belt that we missed went through the front seal and kicked the front seal out of it, and it just poured oil everywhere. I just put that engine together in my garage the week before because it blew up in Jersey, and I can't afford to buy an engine, so I had to build it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I just built this engine to put it together last week. I'm not grenading this thing on a whim that maybe it's just a fluke. And a good thing, because when I tore it apart, it ripped the whole seal in half. So it wouldn't have made another lap. But it sucked to get taken out at my home track for something as small as this $2 belt, pretty much.
Yeah.
It was super frustrating, but whatever. It's
You're
life,
not
I guess.
you're not the first. So
Yeah.
No.
No,
yeah.
no.
And I'm sure
It
that
is
you
what it
thought
is.
about that when it happened and everything too. So
Yes. Talk about Ryan Jones. He's one of the owners at American Force Induction, and they're pretty local to me here in St. Louis, and they're who make my blower. So he actually machined 2 more ribs in the back of my balancer, and I now have a 6 rib belt on the alternator, and it's been great since then.
Oh
So
hell
wow.
shout out Ryan. Thank you for that. That works
Thanks for
great.
the
Crazy.
ribs, brother.
we love a
Yes.
fabricator. We
I love extra ribs, brother. So that ended St. Louis. I also had I think it's the flu or the cold there. I felt like garbage. So honestly, when I got knocked out, like I was so ready to lay down. I think I laid down and fell asleep in the trailer.
Wow.
After I came back, I was pretty exhausted and done.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
whatever, move on. And then we'll get to Utah, which that is my favorite track. Driving the old layout that we did was not fun, but the track, venue, and the place was awesome. Weather was fantastic. Um, the air there is bad. If no one has told you, the elevation is terrible, and the car didn't make any power up there, which you kind of expected, but I didn't
Yep.
expect it to be that bad. And so I ran a smaller blower, a 91 mil at the time,
Yeah.
and a really, really small intercooler. It's actually A&A Corvette, like their factory off-the-shelf intercooler, and it's worked good enough for what I've done so far.
Yeah.
But I was making like 245-degree intake temps, and at that intake temperature, the car doesn't make any power at all. And I don't
Yeah.
have a quick change, so I couldn't change gearing to make it work. And so Brian actually brought a spare blower that he told us, like, hey, this is a 96 mil blower, but it's made of pieces that aren't really supposed to be inside there. They're like a little mismatch what he could just throw together real quick on a Hail Mary deal.
Wow.
So I decided to run that because it's a larger inlet size. So it did make a lot less intake temps. I think I was doing like 185 or 170, which still is bad, but it was
Yeah.
manageable, and the car finally made some power. Um, I ran that all through the second practice and went through seating, got through seating with it, and then went to top 32. And another deal where he was battling actually, but he did 3 tires off on the initiation.
Yeah.
So another deal where all I had to do was complete a lap, and I would have got the win. And unfortunately, into outer zone 2, the car shut off on me, and I thought I lost an engine, to be honest. And what happened is the blower itself actually seized.
Oh wow.
I don't know exactly what caused it internally, but we knew that it was kind of a Hail Mary deal, and it worked for a little while, but it didn't work that fast. So actually, it seized so much that I actually locked the engine up or stopping it from running. So whenever I was off the track, I tried to
Yeah.
crank it and it wouldn't crank. So I told the guys like on the intercom, like, it's car's blown up, like we're done. And then they loaded me up, and while I was in the trailer or on the truck, I decided to try it again, and it cranked over just fine. So I waited and got back to the pits where it cooled off, and it cranked and it started, but it sounded like absolute death. And took the belt off, and it was pretty clear that the blower itself was seizing. And so we
Yeah.
pulled the blower off. I I didn't have a naturally aspirated tune in the car because it's a supercharged car, obviously. So I actually pulled the belt off, pulled the intake boot off, and all that. And Kevin Wells was next to me on a golf cart, telling me like, if you don't show up now, like you're going to be DQ'd for your one more time, created one more time for that battle. So we both zeroed basically. So I drove the car to Steve again from Divulge. Steve from Divulge is the man, and I screamed at him because he's also awesome Modus crew chief. You didn't know, so he's very, very knowledgeable. Anything he says, I just tell him do what you think is best now because he's the man. So I yelled at him like, "Hey, can you give me an NA tune like now?" And he was very confused and pulled the laptop up and threw some numbers in that worked. And I went out there in second gear. I think I had 92-mile-an-hour wheel speed in second gear.
Oh, wow.
I don't have a quick change, so I just did what I could. And I put together a lap or 2 laps. And it was nothing but limiter and clutch kicks. And it was honestly pretty fun. But there's no way you could really do that track in second gear at 92-mile-an-hour wheel speed. Once you get to outer zone 2, it's pretty much done. But I had a lot of fun. Again, just it was cool to see on the live stream after the fact that they showed that like I wouldn't give up and that I was hands-on, pulling the blower off and doing what I could because I still had to put the belt on to make the water pump work. So that was that situation. But it was cool to see that they did show like at least he didn't just throw in the towel and
weren't you
whatever.
like
At least
swapping blowers with Madison during this time period too, or did
no. So
he
he was
stole your
having.
blower, didn't he?
That was him and
He
Matta, I think.
Was it Mata?
so
No?
the spare was for me and Mata. So we run a I don't know if I can say the brand, but a V brand bolt pattern on the blower. So the blower
Okay.
bolt pattern is for a V brand bolt pattern. The one that Derek is running is for a P brand. Sorry, I can't say the name. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
So he couldn't spot my blowers, but
We know what you're talking about. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't know if I'm allowed to say it or not, but
Yeah.
Derek did steal my blower for Seattle because a bolt went through his blower, unfortunately. And bolts don't do well at I don't know how many 74,000 RPM the impeller speed's going, so it cooked the blower immediately. So he's had some rough luck.
He definitely has some luck.
Did you guys would you chalk this season up to like not enough testing with the car? Like, or were you just dancing on some ancient burial ground? Did you break a mirror? Like, what happened?
There was definitely some Team Infamous luck. Team Infamous is Derek's team that actually, whenever I first started drifting, he was like, they had a whole crew.
Yeah.
I looked at them like, those guys are insane, and I'm a peon, and now I'm part of the team, so whatever. But
Yeah.
he hasn't been known to have the best of luck, unfortunately. He's the man, but the reality is luck has not always been on his side. I would say Atlanta was definitely an untested car, which was somewhat out of my control. If I could have went back, I would have not sold the angle kit that I had previously. I ran in Pro-Am in the year before. I would have just bolted that kit back on and probably done a whole lot better. Hindsight 2020, I really wanted to run the new kit, so I did what I could to make it work, and it wasn't ready. Jersey, the car blew up. St. Louis, belt issues, and then Utah, supercharger issues. So we did test quite a bit. I mean, I shouldn't say more than people think probably, but we try to do our best to test the cars, but weird stuff just happens.
Freak accidents. It's like
FD curse, whatever
like the series of unfortunate events.
Yeah, you need to like stock up on your 4-leaf clovers, like do some meditation or something, like some holy water on the car.
I feel like that's always the way. You can go to like a fun event or a test day or this, that, the other thing. As soon as the car knows that you want to win, it's like I think I'm gonna take a nap now. That's pretty.
I think it's a camera curse. Cameras show up and then things just go weird. So
all right, now you heard it. We gotta just like dance in front of the camera.
Yeah, something.
There's no cameras at LS Fest. There's no live stream.
No,
there is, but they're like nothing compared to FD.
Yeah, it's.
And I'm not, like I said, I'm not really like a nervous person, so I don't even chalk it up to like I get nervous. It's
the car
weird
just
stuff
happens.
just happens.
Yeah. Yep.
The car happens. I lost an alternator belt every single lap. Like that doesn't even make sense. Why would that happen? I ran the same belt setup for the 2 years before that without any issue. So
that's crazy.
I don't know. It is what it is. I'll chalk it up to a learning year. I still had fun. Teaming up with Derek was definitely made it more fun because like once I got knocked out, like there's still a chance for the team to progress, and if nothing else, we're still gonna watch drifting, which is awesome. So
exactly,
I did have fun. So there's that.
No, you're right. And like, I mean, dude, it's so rare for a rookie season to go as planned. I feel like for any driver that I've seen.
Robert Thorne's the only one that I know of recently that went well his first year. Like he won.
Yeah,
I don't know if anyone else that has won their first year.
Yeah, before him, the only other rookie that I can think of that did well was Travis Reeder and Dylan Hughes.
Yep, literally.
And that was a.
I don't think they won first place the first year, did they? Unless I'm wrong.
No, they did.
Not
well, they ran one event. I think Dylan ran one event the year before, and I think he got second or first, and then he ran the full season the next year, and
it's definitely
got
not impossible.
Second. No.
Yeah.
No.
But
the thing is back when they were driving it, they were driving 500 horsepower N8 cars.
Yep.
Like it's a little simpler back then.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
There's the difficult thing, or I don't want to call it difficult, but the budgeting part of it. I'm a self-funded person. I don't have any big sponsors or anything. Not talking about anyone who does. It's cool. I hope to get there one day, but I didn't test on these tires until the last few months of the year before Pro Spec. So that was part of it too, possibly. But I don't feel like I lacked like grip or anything. I feel like the car just stock gearing was probably the worst part of it. If I could have changed the gear ratios, that would have been fabulous at most rounds. But
Yeah.
with a Corvette, you have to do a dog box and a quick change at the same time. You can't just do one. So
Yeah.
it's very expensive. So I pretty much saved all last year to buy a dog box and a quick change for this year, because I knew the car just won't be competitive without it. Like,
Yeah.
could it be done with enough nitrous and maybe 5 or 6 different differentials? Maybe, but I don't know. It's tough. So
So have
this year, hopefully,
you've
go ahead.
acquired those new things?
I do. They're behind me. They're actually just not in the car. That I'm waiting on the mount kit that should be here Monday. But the
Yeah.
transmission's in the car. I got a Andrews A431, a
Yeah.
refurbished unit from a known good seller. So
Nice.
hopefully that works.
Hell yeah.
That's the biggest change of the car. The engine package is all the same. I'm building a much larger intercooler for intake temp issues. So
Yeah.
short of that, that's all pretty much staying the same.
100%. Well, yeah, like you said, you're planning on running. Obviously, the fire was a huge.
I'm going to run.
Okay. All right,
I'll be there. I'll be there.
All right. Engine wise, what do you think you want to do for next year in terms of like trying to fix all these issues, or have you kind of like dissected it from last year and kind of think you figured it out, or?
So one thing, like I said, I haven't pulled the heads back off this engine yet to look at these cylinder walls. I should. I really don't want to, because I think I'm going to find something bad.
Let's assume that the actual block's okay or something. Like, I'm just talking about your belt issues and you know, you got a blower figured out, all that kind of stuff. And
yeah, the alternator issue we figured out. Utah is perfectly fine.
Yep.
The supercharger belt, we never really had issues unless we had other issues causing it, whether it's loose bolts or a tensioner broke one time, which again, we've run the same setup for 3 years. So it's, I guess, some parts are just replaced more frequently, just as a just in case kind of thing. It's a billet tensioner from A&A Corvettes. They're not cheap at all. So
yeah,
I didn't really have the funds to just buy a second one, nor did I think I needed it. But apparently that would have helped for sure, because it broke.
Gotcha.
As far as the blower, so I ran a 91 mil, which is the smallest one they make. It's like the street style blower, and it's worked really good so far. Just that air in Utah was terrible. So we're going to the 96 mil, which is the same one that Austin Mata ran. We're doing that. We're gonna have a spare 96 that's all brushed up, ready to go, just in case kind of thing.
Yeah.
Doing a lot of R&D for the blowers, so it took some time. But the 91 I've had on here, I've actually never had an issue with it. It's still on the car.
Right.
The 91 itself has been great. That 96 has the spare parts bin special. It wasn't really meant for what we did to it, and
right. Yeah.
Whatever. I guess we figured out the flaws of using parts bin stuff. So, but yeah, we figured that figured out. Like I said, intercooler is going from a 25 by 6 inch tall, 3.5 inch wide core to a 22 by 11 tall, 6 inch core. So like triple the size. That should help all the time. Make sure that the intake temps don't rise, because they're never great, but they were manageable at all other tracks.
Yeah.
But other than that, should be about the same.
Yeah.
And
hopefully
the car will go to Steve to get tuned.
Yet?
I do want it, but the rulebook change for nitrous stuff pushed me to not do it. There's some rule changes of, I don't think we're not allowed to talk about it, but there's a safety valve that's required to run to shut the nitrous off. But the company that you're only allowed to run the one valve, the company that makes it wasn't even in production of it. So there's like a wait list to get one. If you don't have it, you can't run the nitrous. So I didn't really want to plan to run it, not get that in time, and then have those issues. Yeah, it's because they had fires that were accelerated by nitrous. My line melting.
Well, you limit it to one, and they can't give you. Okay.
I don't make the rules, man.
I guess they're referring to the old James Dean like media day fire.
Yeah, that one and Odie's too. Whenever his exploded, the nitrous line caught fire too. Apparently, from my understanding, anyways. And there's also the whole I'm trying not to add new things to the car that are going to cause headaches. Nitrous, as you know from RTR, can cause headaches. So the car made plenty of power, I wasn't
Yeah.
lacking that. I was lacking the ability to change the wheel speed to get the power where I need it. So I think
Yeah.
once I have the wheel speed right, we'll be in better shape. And
Mhm.
I ran the car NA at Utah, and honestly, if I have to do that, I'll do that. Um, drive harder. I don't know. Air the
True.
tires up, see what
Yeah.
happens. I'm here to have a good time.
There you go. Yeah. No, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, Jason in the chat said Coty is the most mentally tough driver I know. If he says he's going to do something, he will figure out anything out necessary to make it happen. So you're meeting
Yeah,
man.
Love the
almost to a
vibes.
fault.
Yeah.
Love the
Yeah.
vibe. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's I've been like that my whole life pretty much. If I want something that's attainable, it's gonna happen eventually, or at least I'm going to give everything I have to do that. As long as my family is taken care of, I got 2 kids and a wife, and as long as they're good and I can maintain that, then I'll do whatever I can to make this program work because this is what I'm super passionate about. I love drifting. I don't want to leave. So yeah, when bad stuff happens, there's no point in being mad and being angry. Some people do and whatever to them, but it don't make sense to me. So I'd rather just move on and keep
So
going. So
did
that's
you
what I
come
do.
from an extreme sports background prior to motorsports?
Sort of,
So
sort
like,
of, kind of.
biking, skating, skiing, snowboarding, whatever, motocross.
I wish. So I didn't really grow up with a bunch of extra things. I didn't have a lot of money, if you will.
Yeah.
So whenever I started working and making some money, I started buying different things, like different type of motorsports. I was building a Turbo LS S10 to drag race. I kind of lost interest in that, so I started getting into motocross and ATVs and stuff. So I did that for a few years.
Yeah.
Um, I did like off-road Jeep stuff for a while. I kind of wanted to try everything and see where I fit in, which is kind of like the Adam LZ thing. Like at the time, I had a Jeep that was like off-road Jeep, nothing too spectacular, just run it through the woods and bounce it off
Yeah.
trees, and
Have some fun.
it was fun, but it wasn't that good to me. I didn't really enjoy it that much, to be quite honest. I kind of thought I'd like it better than I did.
Yeah.
So I just sold that Jeep and wanted to do something, and seeing that video of him, honestly, just showing that he wasn't very good. Like if he can do this and show that he's not very good and still have fun, like why don't I
Yeah.
just try it? And I bought and sold cars really, really frequently at the time. So I
Yeah.
found that BMW and just tried it. That's kind of always been. So yes and no. I did dirt bikes and I never raced them, but I did like wood stuff and that kind of
Nice.
deal, if
Yeah.
you will. Me and my neighbor actually get really big into it for like 2 or 3 years, and we built a track. And he had 7 acres, and I had like 4.5, and we made a track literally our entire backyard and all through the woods. And we rented the skid steer to have the skid steer come over and make ramps and all that, and whoop section, and we had a lot of
Nice.
fun for many years. But I crashed pretty hard. I got a concussion, pretty serious one. That
Yeah. That's usually
at
what
the time we were
happens.
getting ready. Yeah, and then we were starting to want to have a family and decided that wasn't it. So I bought 2 little Yamaha TTR 125s, little bitty like pit
Yep.
bikes,
Yeah.
and honestly had way more fun on those. You could just
Yep.
hold them wide open 24/7, and they don't care, and
Yeah.
you can't go fast enough to really hurt anything.
Yeah,
So
you can't hurt yourself too bad on one of those
no,
babies.
no, those and 4 wheelers, and in the 4 wheeler, I'd pretty much drift all around. I
Oh,
had
yeah.
a giant circle that I just do donuts in constantly in that thing. Um, so I tried a side by side too. I thought that was going to be my thing, and that wasn't it for me either. So
Yeah.
I kind of just wanted to try a little bit of everything and see what stuck. And I drifted one time in that BMW with a very bad limited slip differential, and I drove horrendously bad. But I had way more fun than I ever had doing any other motorsports. So here we are.
Less
Still
Yeah.
doing
chance
it.
of a major injury, even if like,
Yeah, that's a big
worst
thing
case
too.
scenario, like you roll or, you do actually get hit. Like I think that the most dangerous place like that we go as drifters was Irwindale. And unfortunately it isn't there anymore. But like coming
Yeah,
out of that inner clip and going into outer two, like we've seen it multiple times where dudes just go a little too deep and that's where drifting becomes like, oh my god, that's a scary hit. But most of the time, like even when you're tandeming and things like that, it's like, oh, he put it in the wall. It's like, yeah, he's going like 50 miles an hour, but like you're grazing it. It's like you're doing a
yeah,
slow bend and snap. And like, yeah, the car looks like shit. Could be possibly a little shifted, but ultimately you're getting out of the car and
most times, yeah.
most of the time, yes. And you could still go ahead and finish the day just as you would if that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Maybe
like
not behind
motocross.
the wheel.
It's
Yeah.
motocross is 100%. When are you going to get injured and how bad?
Yeah.
It's
Right.
inevitable there, 100%. So that was the only other thing that really like gave me the same thrill as drifting, but it is
Yeah.
far more dangerous for sure. So
Yep.
I didn't see that being feasible for having kids and wanting to be there for them. You know,
With
Kinda
age
important.
comes a cage.
Yeah.
With age
Unless,
comes a
unless
cage. That's
people are
it.
like Eli Tomac already with a factory, but unfortunately, none
Right.
of
He
us
still gets
really are.
hurt.
Yeah.
Still gets
Yeah,
hurt.
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah, he still gets hurt, but at least the money
The
makes
ground's
a
hard.
little bit better, you know?
Ground is hard.
The
Like,
ground's
Ground does
real
not
hard. It
move
don't
much.
forgive.
it don't
No,
at
Yeah.
all. It's like,
it
oh, it's
hurts.
dirt, it's soft. No, it's not. No, it's not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish I had a cool story when I got that concussion, but I just cross-rutted. I had a YZ125, and I was I cross-rutted and then hit a double at Mach Jesus and did not land it.
I've,
Um, so it wasn't even
I've
a
been
cool
there.
story. It was
I've been there.
no one was around, which was almost. I was almost happy no one was around to see it, but also like I was unconscious for a little while, so I kind of look at people around me. So glad they're close, but glad no one saw it because that would have been bad to
Yeah. That's
see.
rough. But yeah,
Yeah,
I want to give you quick shout outs to some guys in the comments. We got Josh. Cody kills it. Shout out Josh. We got Tough Slides. Cody, my dude. What's up? We got Jason. He was asking earlier about the fire update. Go back to earlier in the show. We talked quite a bit about it.
Yep.
Short story long. Or no, it's a
long
long
story
story short. Jeez. My
You suck,
dyslexia is
dude.
showing there. Um, Still's got a lot to figure out on it, so a lot of wait and
Yeah.
see on that.
It can
a
be
lot of
summed
weight.
up with insurance is insurancing, right?
Yes,
Yep,
I think that was the
That's
quote we were going to
literally
go
it.
with on that.
Yep.
Jason also said you have to be a rules expert and a good driver, a good business operator, and a good crew chief, and somehow know where to be, where and when. It's so much to put on someone's plate year one. When we were talking, I think he posted that when you were talking
Yeah.
about not knowing
Yeah.
to go to the line on top 32 and stuff.
Especially too, like how quick that you did evolve yourself into this position. Like it's not something that's like, just got fed to you. You did earn it, but like how quickly you worked yourself up the ranks to like
Right.
you didn't even have time to like think about, holy shit, like I just want to drive. But then like there's all these other avenues that's like, holy cow, what the hell?
Yeah.
What do you mean I
And
can't just drive? What do you
Huge shout out to Derek Madison for a ton of help in that regard.
Yeah.
Pro spec guys that are rookies that don't have like a really good friend that's been there, that would be way more tough than what I experienced for sure. At least Derek was there to tell me like, hey, your tech building's over there. You're gonna be here at this time. You need to wear this, do this.
Yep.
He's actually been super helpful in pretty much all regards, and it's even just like being a good friend through it. Like when you're having a tough round or doing pro am and you get knocked out for something you didn't see eye to eye with the judges for, and kind of talk you up the ledge like this is what happened. Like you got to move on, keep going, and he's been a huge help. So can't really thank him enough. Whatever, he's been really helpful for sure. With all that what you're saying, it's a lot of information, a lot of you need to know when to be there, and they're FDs trying to be as professional as they can while still having a good time. But there's definitely deadlines and things that have to be met, which they should be. It's professional motorsport, and they need to treat it as such. But it is a lot of information to take on, and a lot of business side stuff that is you almost just need time to do it to understand how to do it really. So
I mean,
we're learning. We're still learning.
I was going to say
100%.
first and foremost is the safety photos that nobody ever remembers that they have to do every year.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Not done on my
all
car
right,
yet.
I'm pulling up the tech, and it's like, holy shit, what do you mean safety photos? And you're doing them right in the line, and then Kevin's ready to yell at you, like, when did you put those in? It's like, 15 minutes ago. It's like, oh, man. It's like, well, we're gonna
Yeah.
tech you tomorrow, so you're fucked.
Yeah.
That's
There's a lot because there's like I said a lot of the inspections and forms you have to fill out before that most people don't even think about. There's a long list of forms you have to fill out. You have to get a physical every year, and there's a lot that goes into it, which it's not a huge deal. But if you don't know that you need to do these things, then it's a lot of information to take on at once. Um,
Yep.
But at the same time, if you do get into it, you can talk to Kevin and them pretty easily, and they're very understanding. So I haven't done my safety photos yet because I don't have the seats
Yeah.
for the car because the
Yeah.
fire.
Don't
So
worry, none of my
I can't
boys
turn
have
those in.
either. I was gonna say none of
So
my boys have either.
if it
Yeah.
comes down to it, I'm sure I can email Kevin and tell him, hey, here's the situation. I'll have the seats obviously before I drive, but I don't have the photos for this yet. And
Right.
he's very accommodating for that kind of stuff.
100%.
He's blunt and straight to the point for sure, but he's easy to talk to. And as long as you're on the right path and you're not being an idiot, he's
Slip
super
him
helpful.
a Dr. Pepper, and
Yeah,
you're right
absolutely.
in. Yeah.
Talk to
Wait,
the PRI.
Kevin's heart, little 23 flavors to get the boy going.
Oh man, if you
Yeah.
if you hit him with a liter of 23, sheesh. He'd be
You're good to go.
he'd be wondering where you were the rest of the day.
It's true, man. Oh man, yeah.
But yeah, Jason had asked too, with the schedule being very similar from the previous year, all the tracks as far as we know, unless they make a wild card pull. What would you be most excited to revisit? I know you said Utah was your favorite track. I'm
That's
shocked by that because of how the first Outer Zone kind of was.
no, not driving. I didn't say driving. Driving was
Oh, okay.
not good.
Okay.
The track. I love the track. The scenery, the mountains, beautiful. I couldn't
Yeah.
breathe, and that first Outer Zone was something. You couldn't
It was-
see. I mean, in a Corvette, you can't see over like the passenger fender anyways.
Yeah.
Like no one can really. If you put your helmet on the roof, you still can't see over that front fender. So I never knew where I was going into that zone ever. Like I could have been 2 tires off. I could have been a car length in. Every time I drove that, I had no idea. And for pro spec, which I somewhat understand, but also don't, for like our practice and stuff, they didn't put the big cones out. They don't put the little tiny cones out for us
Mhm.
because they got hit so many times. So like, I get it. There's more pro spec drivers and they're not at the same level as pro guys, but we couldn't see. Like we had no idea because it's over the rumble strip is also a little bump. So it's like a speed bump. You can't see
Yep.
over the crest until you're there. And when you're there to my passenger side, I never could see. Every one of us, I think, or the vast majority of us were completely guessing every time we drove in there.
Wow.
And sometimes it worked out cool, and a lot, as you see, and like I think even the broadcast was pretty terrible because there's so many zeros for people going 3 tires off there because you couldn't tell. You had no idea where you were going.
Yeah, you
Right.
still got more asphalt after it. You got asphalt, a ton of it before it. You're hitting over a rumble strip. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And what like a lot of people you probably seen like the Instagram post from I think Human, but when you get to a track and you actually walk the track, you see a whole lot more than you see in the cameras, which most people probably understand. But there were some huge dips in that right at the rumble strips, and there's a certain section like if you hit that, you're going to DB, and a lot of people did. Like there was almost no chance you weren't going to DB there. The concrete would move if you jumped or you stood on it. So I hope they don't do that again next year. If they do, we'll try to figure it out. But I hope they don't. But yeah, I would say I don't know, Atlanta was really cool, and I feel like I need some redemption there for sure. That was probably the track I was looking forward to the most because that track is awesome. Bombing down that hill is super cool. But it's also like the New Jersey's where I probably drove the best. So that would be really cool to go back to. But as far as like, I don't know, St. Louis is special because that's my home track, and there's a pretty good chance they're not coming back here after this year.
Yeah.
I know the contract's up after this year, and with everything with the walls that happened in 24, I don't know if they left a bad taste in their mouth.
Right.
I have no inside information. I don't see them coming back, to be quite honest, which sucks because it's super close and saved us a ton of money.
Right.
Yeah.
But
it really is a cool track. They just this past year it was a conflict, I think, between FD trying to cater to the drivers, put together a cool event, and then just the track just trying to prevent the cool driving from ruining their track,
Yeah. The old layout, which it's been it's been said so many times, the old layout, the first year they came to St. Louis, that track is sick. That's
Yeah.
probably one of the sketchiest tracks that I know of in United States. Like, it is
Wow.
absurdly fast, and if you go off the track, like, there's a chance you might just go in the grass and be okay, but like, it is way fast, and there's a wall and a tire wall pretty close, but I don't think there's a faster track that I'm aware of. I'm
Well,
probably wrong on that.
it's a weird
but I know it's
track to go
fast.
off because the runoff is so long, but you can't slow down because you're on
Yeah.
grass.
No.
You're not slowing
Yeah.
down,
Yeah.
so you're just sliding into a wall. But you
And
have a
there's
time to
been
read. You have
multiple
time to
cars
read a
rolled.
book before you hit it.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
just like,
yeah,
oh,
for
this
sure.
is gonna suck.
There's been cars that have rolled there. There's been cars that have gone into the wall and completely totaled. I've seen an S550 Mustang when they first came out, totaled there. It can cause some carnage, and you have to drive it with some respect. But that track is awesome. I get why they don't run it for FD because there's absolutely no seating, and it's 3 miles away from the pits, and it just didn't work the first year they had it. It was
Yeah.
insanity.
Yeah.
But it was really fun. It was really fast. Whenever we get a test in St. Louis, like a private days, we can rent that track. We are actually not allowed to rent the FD track. So we are never allowed to drive that other than FD. No one is allowed to
Why?
touch that.
Wow.
From our understanding, FD, I think I'm allowed to say, I don't know. FD apparently paid for the pavement there, or at least part of it, and part of the contract is no one else can drive on that besides FD. So we are not allowed to drive
Gotcha.
there. A driver did drive there once and got yelled at pretty aggressively after the fact. So yeah, we don't get to drive that, which I want to, because I would love to get practice on there, but
Yeah.
we're not allowed to. So we can't even walk across there without special permission, I feel like. So we do get a test in the big track, which is fun. But most of the stuff here is parking lot. But
Yeah.
it's still fun.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like, so obviously you said St. Louis is kind of the home area. So, what is the drifting like locally for you?
It's a lot of fun. I'd say so. We started doing, I think 2 years ago, we started doing more competitions here. Try to create some better drivers and people kind of that care more, if you will. So we started actually giving prizes and money, and got some companies involved to do that. So I don't really oversee it much, but I help Derek judge it. And it's been a lot of fun. There's some super good drivers. There's one kid named Derek Young that if he's not an FD one, like in the next probably 5 years, I'll be surprised because he's an animal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of fun. It's pretty big events for kind of a smaller market, if you will.
Yeah.
I think the last trip day I went to was like 2 weeks ago, and I think there was like 130 cars there.
Wow.
So it's pretty popping.
Big field.
Yeah.
Cash Hurst came out, and one other pro driver, Caleb Pondback, came back.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And they were shredding, and Derek's car was not ready, and my car was also broken, so that sucked. But it's a good time.
Yeah. No.
Oh, yeah.
That's for sure. But it's I will say your area is a hellhole for weather.
No, it's
I-
only when FD comes here. Besides last year was amazing. But
Yeah,
every other
last
year,
year
for
was-
whatever reason,
It's always
I don't know why.
always
It's
awful.
not always like that. Only on FD. I don't.
I mean, Jersey was awful this year, so I can't talk. I'm gonna
Jersey
stay out of this.
Yeah.
That was the hottest day in like the last, no shit, like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
bad.
that
It
was
was
every
not
day.
a driving.
No, it's true.
What was that?
It was not a driving at all.
No,
yeah.
it was
Oh,
all
no, no, no.
humid
There's-
and gross.
Yeah.
It never is. It's like a soup.
No, it was bad.
Yeah,
But
not quite
Yeah.
as bad as Atlanta, but it's definitely up
No, it was worse.
It was.
there.
It was 100% worse. You don't remember you were in air conditioning.
Yeah. Yeah, you had a couple
Okay, I
brewskis
was in the
there, okay?
suites. Well, guys,
Do
the
you
walk
even
from the
remember
suites
Atlanta?
to my truck.
Hold up. Do you even
Okay,
remember
all right,
it?
hold on a
No,
second.
no,
Let's
no,
go
no.
easy
We're
on
not
Sarah.
gonna go into too much
Thank
depth.
you,
But
Herb.
you were in a little bit of AC. That's all
You're
I'm gonna
right.
say.
You're right. I was in the suites at E Town, but the walk to my truck and the suites and back was very warm.
I'm gonna keep it much
You're
back.
an ass.
Oh,
We
shout
were
out!
all dying outside.
Yeah. Shout out Malik in the chat. Good to see you, buddy.
What
Also
up,
Phil, what's up,
Malik?
buddy?
Phil, we're talking Corvettes, brother.
Yeah,
Big Corvette guy.
Yeah,
Celine.
he's another stock diff guy.
Yeah.
I did it for as long as I could. No more.
Yeah.
He's definitely feeling the pain. He definitely is feeling the pain.
Yeah. About that. But Celine Drift did say FD drivers somehow do it. It takes F1 teams thousands of people to accomplish. Netflix needs to jump on it, and I agree.
I think
It would be sick.
series.
I think there's plenty of behind the scenes drama, not necessarily in a negative way, just all the stuff that goes on with these cars behind the scenes is
Story.
pretty absurd.
Yeah.
Storyline. There you go. That's a better word. Storyline.
Welcome.
There's a lot of storylines. There's a lot of passion for sure.
Yeah.
That one show is sick.
Or like the parts, the parts shortages and all that kind of stuff, or trying to get parts. You know, all the times that you guys are to swap engines and swap
I'd say
parts.
like 90% of the people that do compete in FD have to wake up in the morning and go to their normal job just to be able to have a chance at doing what their dream is.
Yep.
Like you go to F1 and they just show
that's
up.
their job.
Like,
yeah.
and don't get me wrong, they had to do all these hundreds of other steps to get to that point.
Right.
But most of them, I'd say, if I'm hopefully not too ignorant on this, came from a source of money and didn't have to ultimately work for that in the sense of earning the dollar to make it there. They just had to be a better driver.
Right.
Like how many FD dudes do you just get to see that are arrive and drive? Yeah, in the pro world, you got your RTR, you got your Papadakis, and even Odie gets hands on into the car.
Mm-hmm.
And like that doesn't happen ever in F1. If they ever saw Lewis Hamilton getting hands on with his now Ferrari, they would probably find
him.
Somehow find the guy.
Yeah. I think there's a ton of good stuff that they're missing out on, or some sort of series is missing out on. You know, FD is so unique, so I agree with him.
Bring it back to the financial side. That's why I stopped being a mechanic and opened up my own business, because I couldn't get enough time off of work and make enough money to make FD work without going in severe debt. So that's why I started the company, which is kind of a weird timing. I started a dump truck company in the middle of starting my rookie season of FD. So had a lot going on last year. Hopefully this year's a little more relaxed.
I am a bit curious about your company. Like, so what do you guys actually like? Obviously, I know what you do.
I don't know what you do. So what would be what's your company's name? 2, what is the main material that you guys are moving?
Okay, so it's called Relentless Hauling LLC. If you want to look it up, it's me.
You have a sticker on your car of that, right?
I don't actually.
Oh, I thought you did.
I should get one, but I don't.
Yeah, you should.
I'm what's called an owner operator, so I own the truck and I also operate the truck. I don't have any other drivers at the time. I would love to get some more eventually, but trucks break a lot and they're expensive, so buying another one is not really in the current plans. But I would like to do that. But mostly, I actually lease on with a broker. Basically, is how it works. So you just lease on with them. They give you jobs every day or whenever they have work, and then you do whatever they say, basically. So mostly I do like tear outs of asphalt or dirt, and then haul rock. The other times, it's super simple. I mean, if anyone is looking for a decent living, if you have it doesn't cost a ton to get into it. Do your research on like local laws and getting a DOT and all that. But it's really not hard to do, and there's some pretty good money in it, relatively speaking. And
that's cool.
I like owning my own company. I can do what I want. I can take off when I need to. That's a big part of it. So it's worked out so far. Hopefully that continues.
How did you get your CDL?
I took and I don't know how it is state by state, but in Missouri, you're required to do a training course deal. So I, of course, found a training course that I could do online because that's way easier. So I did that, and then went and basically rented the truck to take my CDL test in. So I got a Class A. I can drive.
Yeah,
pretty much anything other than hazmat.
I was curious if you worked with a previous company that paid
No,
because I know it's expensive. It is very like
it
I
wasn't
don't want
that.
to
It
say
wasn't that
very
bad.
expensive, but it definitely. I feel like well, I'm from Jersey, and like the CDL costs
Could be.
always like punched people in the throat almost of like it's like oh I want to find a company that's gonna pay for my CDL license. It's like all right,
Uh,
well I don't know, I don't know.
I
My
don't
dad
remember
was a
exactly, but
trucker, so
oh yeah, okay.
yeah, yeah, that's why I was just a little bit curious about that.
I think even with renting the truck from the company that had like the course and everything, I think I paid like $1,200
Oh
with
That's not
wow.
with
bad at
renting the
all.
truck, which
No, that's not
Yeah.
bad.
relatively speaking is not bad. You know, if you want
No.
to start up a different kind of company, you might have you know 100 times that just to get business license and get
Yep.
all the legal stuff figured out. So
Yeah,
um, I don't know. It's been well. It's been doing pretty good. I don't mind it. It's easy work.
100%.
Previously, like I said, I was a mechanic. I went to college to be. I have a associate degree in light duty diesel repair. So I was a diesel tech and
okay.
uh, electronic guy for quite a few years with
So
lead
you
tech in the
use the
shop.
big wrenches.
I was that guy, and
Mm.
I was a independent shop, so I didn't do diesel every day. Mostly what I did was
Yeah.
diag work, and I just really was burned out on it. The
Mhm.
company I worked for, the owners were super cool. I really liked them. I just was burned out of
Yep.
working on cars all day, coming home and working on the car all night, and then
Yep.
repeat every single day. So
Yep.
I wanted to find something I could do that I was good at. I feel like I'm a good enough driver, hopefully. So
Yeah.
that kind of worked. I know how to work on diesels and know how to work on cars and trucks. So
Yeah.
when I have to fix a truck, which I just had to do today, actually, unfortunately,
Yeah.
I could do it myself, so save cost there. But
Mhm.
Yep.
I don't know. I was done being a mechanic. Now my hands are not stained black all the time, which is cool. Big fan of that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I
Like
can't count the amount of times I like stain my daughter's clothes picking her up after I get home from work and like, I'm that guy now.
so what is the dump truck? Like what is it?
It is a 1996 Western Star 4900. It's a quad axle truck, so it has two drop axles,
Okay.
um, 17-foot bed. It's kind of a larger truck to start with. Most people would start like a tandem non-drop axle truck,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I
That's
got
a
a good
big
deal on
boy.
this one, and I can haul more, so I can make a little more money if I haul per ton. Some
Wow.
days are haul. Some days you get paid for how many tons you haul. Some days you get paid by hour. So
Okay.
Yeah.
it's kind of whatever. If you want to get into it, do your
What's the
research.
engine in
And
it?
it is a Cummins M11, so it's actually one of the smallest engines in a heavy equipment truck. It is a
Yep.
10.8 liter, and
Okay.
it shows. You can tell.
Mm.
It's not fast. It does about 66 miles an hour,
Okay.
like empty. Like if you are just wanting to really abuse the thing, but usually you do about 63, 64 mile an hour. It's kind of funny because now my body's used to that. So when I do like drive my normal car or truck, I do 65 mile an hour, and then my wife yells at me like, "Let's go sometime, please." So, which Sarah knows my wife, so you get it.
Yeah,
She's the
yeah.
best. So.
She's the best. She has opinions. She tells you.
That's
Wow, that's
funny.
funny.
Yeah. So,
The
you know,
really strange thing too is, oh sorry,
no, keep
I was
going.
saying the transmission is but they call it horseshoe transmission.
Okay.
So if you think of it like a normal 5-speed pattern, where first gear would be is reverse and then low, and then second gear or first gear, second, and then third gear is actually over where like reverse would be in a 5-speed. And then your final gear is up top. So you shift like forward, back, down, back up. And then you have to go to high range and go back to first, second, fourth,
Oh,
fifth.
dang.
That makes sense.
Yep.
So you do that, and I do it all the time now. I shift a lot, obviously. So I get into like my Corvette or my I have a Jetta TDI, and I get in that thing. I do like first, second, fourth all the time. So
Yeah.
like before I drive FD, I have to like stop driving the dump truck for a few days and like just drive my street car. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
don't get used to
Hop
drive
on the
shifting
sim
this.
and just do a couple of pulls
Exactly.
real quick. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, we're back.
It gets annoying because I do it subconsciously. If I don't pay attention, I'll do it more often than I want to admit in my little Jetta. And it doesn't like fourth gear at like 30 miles an hour. So it's whatever.
I feel
Right.
you. I drive a lot of different transitions for work, and I like when I first get into a random car I've never driven before. I'm like, oh god, what is it? Is it my track car that's a 6-speed, or is it my other car that's a 5-speed, or like this one's a push down, and it's
It's always finding reverse. It's impossible.
Yeah,
yes.
finding reverse is
And then you
mission
look like a
impossible.
rookie that's like never been in the car before. You're like,
Yep.
yep, a minute.
Yep.
Now try to teach your brain to go first, second, basically fourth, and then third. Do that all the time, and it gets a little confusing at first, but you get
Right.
used to it.
Yeah.
So I actually do want to get into a little bit of the current events stuff going on right now with FD and everything. And
Yeah,
like obviously Power made the announcement. I believe he's running Pro Spec, if I'm correct in saying that.
that's what he said. Yeah,
Yeah.
Too, yep.
And then I think Alex Leclerc announced that he's not running FT. But like there's a bunch of kind of announcements. Obviously you had to petition in. So kind of like what do you think about everything that's going on and how FD is kind of trying to handle moving people in and out of series and trying to, keep things fresh, but also, keep people in that are deserving to be there?
I think they're working really hard to make it the best they can from
Yeah.
all aspects, if you will. Even for the driver, they do quite a bit behind the scenes to try to help us to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, it is a professional motorsport that needs to be treated as such. So if you don't perform, unfortunately, it's probably not your time to be there.
Right.
And it's tough because with drifting, as we all know, it's very, very anything can happen at any time. So you could have a
Yeah.
bad season, kind of like not trying to make excuses, but I had lost an engine, I had belt issues, I lost supercharger, like
Right.
things that are somewhat out of my control. Maybe if I had enough budget to build a new engine and put that
Yeah.
in before the rounds and all that kind of stuff could have maybe been avoided. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, even the pro guys like RTRs have issues with nitro solenoids and that takes them
Yeah.
out. So I think it's hard for a driver to get in and stay in, to be quite honest.
Mhm.
I'm hoping to be one of those guys that can stay in for the long haul,
Yeah.
but it's definitely difficult. And there's, like we said, it's a lot to learn. You're running tracks you've never driven on, you're driving with. I mean, when you go to a local event, if you are an FD driver, it's a pretty solid chance you are one of the best drivers there. You go to an FD round and you're not
Yeah.
always the best driver there.
Mhm.
Everyone there is a killer. So everyone there drives super, super well. And
Yeah.
everyone has different styles of driving. So if you're used to driving, so like if me and Derek drive together, he drives a different way than let's say another
Yeah.
pro stick guy will drive, but they're just as fast. So it takes some time to learn that. And that's just part of it. So you have to be able to adapt super quick. So going to what FD is doing, I think they're trying their best to make the right calls. There's so many people trying to get in that they need to let new people in, but there's only so many spots. So
Right.
I don't have the answer. I don't know
Yeah.
what the best thing to do is. I know there's tons and tons of good drivers everywhere.
Mhm.
So not saying that they don't deserve to get in. You kind of have to get in and perform right away. Unfortunately, it's tough to do, but you kind of have to.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing for sure. I
Mhm.
think they're trying to make pro and pro spec the same driver count. I don't see
Interesting.
them ever running a third series. I don't see them ever doing that.
Right. No. Yeah.
It's pretty clear. Trying to choose my words carefully.
Yeah.
FD doesn't exactly. I think pro spec is a headache for FD because
Yeah.
there's so many drivers and they're new drivers. It's to teach every new driver new things. They don't know all the old rules have been set in stone for so many years that pretty much all the pro guys know the rules and know this, they
Yep.
know that. So it's tough for them to always to put a lot of resources into pro spec all the time.
Yeah.
So I try to see both sides of it for sure.
Mhm.
I don't have the answer. They're doing,
Obviously. Yeah.
I think they're doing a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's
I don't know.
but it's an
tough.
interesting thought because like obviously there was a bunch of dialogue online about power,
Yeah, I've seen that.
and it was like it's tough because it's like one of those questions of like, okay, do you put the value that some guys struggle to make it to every round, but then you let a guy like Vaughn, which there is a champions clause, so he can do it whatever he wants basically, but like let
I
someone
think
just
that's
jump.
fair.
Yeah, which is
I
fair.
don't. I don't.
Okay.
No, you don't like the champions clause because it's like you already won
Not
the
one
dang
bit.
thing. You
Yeah.
proved that you could do it. You don't
I
like
don't
that?
like that at all. I
Okay.
think that's idiotic, honestly.
It's like favorites playing favorites.
Yeah, like why okay, so a dude from
All right, before you start complaining about it, just
I want to
explain for
hear
the
this.
people that don't know what it is, just real quick.
me?
Yes.
Well, I don't really know what it is.
Well, the
But I
champions.
do
So
God, no.
FD
No, but
FD
it's
traditionally wants like full fields. They want drivers that are going to show up to all 8 rounds for pro, all
Yeah.
4 rounds for pro spec. But obviously, we bring up the fact that Vaughn has like, and other drivers, I don't want to single him out,
Yeah.
has clearly announced, hey, like I'm only doing a partial season. And in order to like kind of accommodate that, they've made this clause that says like, okay, if a former champion wants to come back and run a partial season, they are allowed to.
Which that, to
Yeah,
be
I-
fair, that's been in the rulebook for a while. But
Right.
Yeah, I think the whole like even when LZ was doing just like the 4 round thing, right? Like with
Yeah.
the Mustang, I thought that was stupid. Um, I just it takes away another opportunity from someone else, and
Good point.
like ultimately it's like what do you actually bring? Like for LZ it's a little bit different. Unfortunately it's like you got to kind of choke that down because he does bring the fan base, and like I've said multiple times, he made a fan out of me last year, genuinely performing. And once he won, like when he won in FD New Jersey in the Mustang, I was like, holy shit, this dude can actually wheel. Like this is a whole new animal. But the Vaughn thing, I think, is kind of like a gimmick in a way. Like, I, like yeah, everybody knows him, everybody cares, but I don't think that it's something that is going to bring fruition to the sport overall. You know, like
Yeah,
I
like they work really hard to elevate it with all the rules that we've talked about, which we love, and we've like beat this to death that we want to see FD be really, really successful. But to your point, F1 drivers don't just show up to part of the things. It's every single race, unless I think someone is getting their appendix out in an emergency way and like missed around. Like that's
like I don't, Kimi Räikkönen, I don't think he won any championships, but like if that dude could just show up to a random event, I'd be like, hell yeah, for F1,
okay. All right.
but like he can't, the dude just can't just decide one day, hey, you know what, that Cash App Visa Red Bull car looks really cool. I think actually I want to drive that. Like no, it doesn't happen, and like genuine, like going back, I think it takes away that seat from someone else that is going to show up to all the rounds. Yeah, their following may not be as big, they may not have the biggest sponsors ever, but their driving could show for it more than just like a one-off. And I mean, not for nothing. And Vaughn, if you ever do happen to see this, I love you, buddy.
Yeah.
But you drove twice this year, and you didn't do shit. You didn't do anything. Like you got knocked out by your teammate, and then in the final round, what happened? Nothing.
yeah.
Literally nothing. So you just took a seat from somebody else that has just suffered all year, potentially, to have that opportunity.
I think this leads us into Nate's favorite thing of his wild card idea, which is like you have your full field of drivers, and then like every round there's what, 2 wild cards that you
idea.
just. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad.
Hey, I had
Herbie's
the idea too. Okay.
All right, that's why you
Okay.
hire me.
Our
That's
idea.
why you hire me.
I had the idea of whoever wins the round at Pro Spec could jump up to Pro and drive
And
it,
just fuck
like
up
the next
I'm
round.
here to fuck up the points, guys.
Yeah, like I thought
Yeah,
that would
man.
be fun, like as a reward. Like, oh, you won a Pro Spec round. Okay, so next round of FD, you can drive Pro if you want for that round.
Yeah, and I
just
mean,
see what
like the
happens.
rumor, I forget if we actually got clarification, but I know that the rumor of like Ken Gushi and the reason why he keeps coming back, and it's like, I'm here to fuck up the points.
Love that.
But
Love
you
that.
know what? He's there 1st through 8th round to fuck up those points. That's not a wild card. That's a dude, he
Yeah.
underlyingly wants to win.
Yeah.
But like
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
go
for
from
sure.
like say, Long Beach. All right, who's in California? Who's in Utah? Who's all these local dudes? Like if JTP happens to want to like rip a lap at Utah
Oil
or at
down the
Long
whole
Beach,
track.
yeah, or Utah, like like what? Why are we stopping him, but we're allowing the other? You know,
Yeah.
No, it's
It-
true. It's kind of a double
It's
standard,
true.
which granted, I get Vaughn is a huge part of the sport and they're going to say that and you can't deny it. But again,
Right.
It's like I want more drivers in Pro 1. I want to see more chaos. I want to see just someone random come in for an event. Like how cool, cuz the cool thing about the wild card system in DMEC is you get drivers all over the world coming for like 1 or 2 rounds.
Yeah.
Like
I'd love
Mad
to see
Mike,
like Mad
Admiral
Mike,
Z,
Reese
Mad Mike.
Millen.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like
These
dude,
big names, Tanner Faust. Imagine if he just decided like, yo,
Oh,
I want to throw down.
but you
You
technically
know,
could cuz
whatever.
he's technically a champion, but
he is
He
a
is a
champion.
champion. So like, yeah, I guess that the rule book fits his needs or wants if
right.
he ever wanted to.
Yeah.
But
Love to have Big C come back and just spank up some dudes. That would be fun. Love
Yeah.
that energy.
Yeah. Or I just didn't
The
know if
only
it just
tough
wants
part
to.
is who do you kick out for the
You
wild
don't.
card
You
spot?
don't. You just add them in.
Tough.
that's what I mean. So
Where
like,
are they gonna fit though?
What do you
if
mean? There's
they
plenty of room.
if they continue,
They haven't. They haven't
I think
filled
it's a
it.
cool
Filled the
idea.
top 16 bracket yet for seeding brackets. So I don't know.
That's
From the way I look at it, we got plenty
I
of room, boy.
genuinely, I think
Well,
that,
they are changing that. To be fair,
yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say, I think that the idea though comes from, you know, like having the champion, like whatever this rule is. I still don't remember, and you just said it 3 times, but whatever. The champions rule, if that was still in major effect, like, you know, I know that they're trying to push to not have buy runs, especially in the seating bracket. You know, top
Yeah.
32 is one thing, like how you've dealt with issues, like you made it through this, you know, you made it through, here comes the seat or top 32 and you can't make it. Like that happens time and time again.
Yeah.
Right.
But you showed up. You're there every round.
Right. You're
But
trying.
like,
Yeah, you
the
literally have a battle in the seeding bracket, and none of those guys show up, and you're like, and you knew they weren't showing up too, and it's like,
Yeah.
what are we doing here?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
like in the circumstance of like, I'll just say like Forrest Wang last year, he made a public post weeks, I believe, before one of the rounds that he was not being able to show up for. That's a circumstance where it would have been like, okay, who wants to fill this? Like, who can we get to get this position? Like all holds barred. Like it doesn't matter at this point. Like who wants to fill this that we see fit. You know, and now Luke Fink getting into the picture. But like just like these top name brands or brand name people that can wheel and they are pro worthy. They don't have necessarily a license, but like they should be able to compete in this in a sense, whether it be pro spec or pro.
Right.
So, Coty, if you were not required or heavily encouraged to run a full season, would it ever occur to you to do a partial season, like as your first? Or yeah, okay, the not anything halfway guy.
Yeah.
I think exactly. I think most I guess I shouldn't say most. Probably most of us in FD are like way too competitive to a fault.
Right.
Like I don't ever want to leave up the chance if we're missing a round and losing points for that or something stupid.
Yep.
But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. The wild card thing is cool. I just see, like, to Ryan Sage's point, to play devil's advocate, if you will, is who do you kick out? If they have a 40 driver cap and 3 people from prospect going to move up every year, that means they're already at 40 right now.
I've yet
Who
to
do they
see a
kick
40
out?
driver
3
field in Pro
drivers.
1. I've yet to see it.
I feel you. I get it.
That's
I
my
feel what they're-
frustration. I'm like, bro, okay, you have a driver
Yes.
cap, but we never actually fucking hit it.
Nate will crash out
Sure.
on this topic. 10 out of 10.
No, I feel you. So maybe put the wild card as like the rounds that Vaughn's going to run, and every other round fill in early, like in advance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Say somebody will run these rounds to be special guests. That would be cool.
Yeah.
That'd
No,
be
that
cool.
it definitely couldn't be like a last minute, like
Right.
Yeah.
2 days beforehand thing.
Yeah.
It would have to
If it was
be at
planned, it'd
least
be cool.
a couple of weeks, like hopefully a month.
Yeah.
Like
So-
I know,
Jason's like, showed me a registered driver's list for 2025. I feel you, buddy. I'm been
yeah,
waiting.
because earlier he
You
had
know.
said,
I have it.
Well, what did he say?
you do?
Shocked we have. He said,
Oh.
shocked we haven't seen a registered driver list from FD publicly, is what he said.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
We
Yeah,
Not
so-
publicly.
they made a post.
They
with
made
most-
the post, but
Yeah.
ultimately, like even the one, like
a bunch
it
of those
didn't have-
drivers aren't driving. I
it didn't
thought.
have power on it.
Yeah.
You know, like for pro spec, like, but
Yeah.
ultimately, like we may or may not have known about that prior to him coming out with the video.
We
Yeah.
did. And look at us for keeping the secret, though. I would also like
Well,
to say.
I want to say that we ultimately didn't because Brandon threw that out.
Yeah, Brandon.
Brandon.
I don't think he knew that he wasn't supposed to say anything. But
No, and
Oh,
I
okay.
told him in goodwill, and
I
he
Yeah.
kept
blew
it.
it. And I texted him right away. I said, "Shut the fuck up."
Because so like we knew about it, but we knew that we were not allowed to ask him that question or say anything, which like we'll respect everybody's, announcing their own things. We don't want to like blow up anybody's spot, but
right,
yeah.
Yeah,
it is
that
what it
was a
is.
close call.
So aside from like FD events, are you planning to run any fun events like LS Fest this year? Any grid lives? Or are you just playing it by ear because your shit just burned down?
Well, a little bit of both for sure. I want to run LSS again. I sat out last year because budget was tight. To be quite honest,
Right.
it's a lot to run FD. It cost quite a bit of money. With losing that engine in Jersey, it took pretty much everything. So I didn't run LSS this year or this past year, I guess, but I definitely want to. It's
Yeah.
a really, really fun event. I would love to run a grid life. I don't know if I can. Part of the thing is with me and Derek traveling together, my car is usually in the trailer with him, and sometimes it gets left on like the East Coast for a few rounds, so I won't have the car.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, like I know LSS Texas is going on, which I really, really want to go to, but I think my car will probably be in Florida done for Orlando.
Yep.
So I don't know. I'm definitely going to run everything I can, with as many scrub tires as I can. Unfortunately, in the fire, I lost a bunch of scrub tires. That same wall that
Oh.
burned is my scrub tire wall. So I lost, like, I don't know, probably 15 tires.
Oh
And
my
like they might
God.
be usable, but probably not.
To be
They're
honest, those are rookie numbers. We just talked to Rudy, and he had like 100 or 200.
Well, he's got a
Yeah.
two-car team.
Yeah.
He'll get there too.
He was. Yeah, that's a fun situation to be in for him. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Good luck. You can't even buy tires. Good luck.
Oh my God.
Oh
He's,
man.
yeah. I have plenty of other tires, but I had a lot of them in my trailer, like my enclosed trailer, luckily.
Yeah.
But that was like my interior storage. I had a couple of new GTs on that wall. Like that was
Oh,
like
Yeah.
my
rip.
that was like my indoor storage tire storage, if you will. My good tires,
Yeah,
my
yeah.
good scrubs and new tires.
Yeah.
So that
You-
part sucked.
I
Yeah.
have so much anxiety because my battery chargers are all directly next to my tire wall, and I must immediately go downstairs and unplug everything.
If it's lithium ion anymore, now I'm going to be that paranoid idiot. But I'm not going to leave anything lithium ion plugged in
No,
ever
me neither.
because that sucked for sure.
100%.
Not trying to go back to that, but yeah,
Right.
even in the house. So another one that the investigator said is pretty popular is like the wet dry like vacuum mop things, the cordless like vacuum mops, not like the robo vacuums, but the whatever they're called.
Yeah.
But those apparently catch fire quite often.
Swiffer ones or whatever.
Yeah, like the ones that she said the ones that mop because they have
Yeah.
water in them, and that also can, I guess, cause some instability.
Dang.
I don't know. I had one. It is now in the trash because I was. No, I'm good. She said they catch on fire a lot. I'm out.
We're not playing with that.
Right.
No, that fire is too much.
Mhm. 100%. All right. Well, we are almost at the 2-hour mark. There's a couple chat questions I want to quick hit, and then I get to ask my favorite question. So, shoot, it moved. Is this from Phil? Do you think if FD started sanctioning pro-am events, it would prepare the drivers more for pro spec? And I feel like FD technically does sanction events,
Right.
but I feel like their rule books are way more laxed. I guess that's kind of what he was talking about.
Yeah, I could touch on that a little bit.
Yeah.
So there's an FD Pro Am rulebook. It's honestly pretty similar to the Pro Spec rulebook, minus a few things. Like in Pro Spec, you have to have an FIA rated passenger seat in case a judge wants to ride with you in the rulebook.
Okay.
Never seen a judge ride with anyone, but so like for Pro Am, I had a stock passenger seat because it's cheaper. A few things like that. But you still got to have fire suppression, full cage. Most of the safety stuff is all the same.
Okay.
But as far as like FD sanctioning it like hands on, I don't think that'll ever happen. Unless FD gets so big they can
Yeah, they don't
hire
have the
like
team
a
to do that right
reasonable
now.
person.
They barely got
Right.
the
No.
show on the road as it is.
So a lot of it is take this with a grain of salt, because this is my understanding, but FD's
Yeah.
kind of trying to, it seems like they're trying to move away from um, every Pro-Am series getting a license. So like when I was in Pro-Am my first year,
Yeah.
or that was the first year that FD only gave out the one license per series. It used to be 3 licenses per series, and they
Yep.
went down to 1. And now they're leaning more towards a scouting program, to call it. So I know Hot Pit Auto Fest is the main hub, and then I think the one up in New Jersey area, get the name, forgive me. But there's like a scouting program to where even if you don't win, if Jeff Jones basically says, "Hey, this is the driver we want to push," then that guy basically gets he still has a petition in, but it's like a petition with a little emphasis,
sanction.
if you will.
Yeah.
And I think that's more what they're pushing towards, because they're having so many licenses per year, and there's just physically not enough spaces. So like this year too, I can't, I don't know if I could touch on the exact number, but it used to be the top 32 was guaranteed a license for next year, the top 32 in points, and next year that number is lower. So more drivers in the coming years are going to be kicked out essentially for not
Right.
performing. Because they have so many licenses coming in, so many petitions coming in, that they kind of need to recycle to an extent. But it's definitely tough to, as a driver, it's tough to make your rookie season the best season ever. It's not
Especially
impossible,
when,
but it's definitely tough.
yeah, especially when you're only bringing 3 from pro spec into pro.
Right.
Right. And then pro is the same deal, because if you have 3 drivers every year move up to pro, but you have a 40 driver cap, there's guys that have been in there for 20 years. So
Mm-hmm.
And like
the match
someone's got
doesn't
to
always
be
match.
in the bottom. Somebody's got to be down there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's not
I
that
mean,
they're bad. I mean,
yeah.
it's just the way it is.
yeah. I mean, I don't think they're having a problem this year because we've seen quite a few people drop out this year.
Yeah, I think
just
it's this next year will be the start of it. What I'm saying, I think
Yeah.
years to come, I think you're going to see a lot more drivers get the boot.
Yeah.
Like I said, I try to see both sides. I'm a pretty open-minded person in that regard. I try to see both sides of everything, so I do understand, but it's definitely going to be tough to see for sure.
100%. Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely curious to see how this year goes for sure.
Me
But
too.
all right, time for my favorite question, and that is: do you have an Andy Luck story for being a rookie?
I don't really have much of one. I have a tiny one that it wasn't directly with me.
Okay, that's
But
fair.
Andy Luck knows one of my friends, the owner of the St. Louis Tracks, or not the owner, the general manager. His son, they know Andy Luck pretty well, and
Yeah.
apparently when he told Andy Luck that I was coming into Pro Spec, he told him that he better not suck, and then I proceeded to suck the entire year. So I don't have an Andy Luck story yet, but when I show up to round 1, he might say some words. I don't know. But he's been pretty cool to me. I've talked to him many times. If you stay on his
Right.
good side.
Hey, well, that's the thing is you did stay on his good side, which I'm kind of surprised about. Not gonna lie.
Well, he loves Derek Madison for some reason.
I don't know why
And
either.
Derek told me.
I was like, bro, you're like, how? Just how do you guys get along? I don't get it. It's so funny.
You know Derek.
I know.
He's a good boy.
That's the problem. I know Derek.
He follows the rules. That's why.
Right. That's how it goes.
He definitely does.
He follows all the rules perfectly to a T. He's the guy.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. Fucking A. All right, guys. Well, this has been a fun show. I wasn't sure where it was gonna go, and it went all over the
Me
place.
Yeah,
And
time flew. It was good though. It was a good coverage of like your season and what you have going on. Like I learned a lot about batteries.
I do
It's
have
good.
one question I kept forgetting to ask.
Yeah.
With everything that has happened to you, and you have the car behind you right now, where are you? Where is that thing? Like, do you have
The
another?
car?
Yeah.
You want to see what shape it's in right now?
No, I'm just curious, like where you have that. Like, so it was your personal garage, right?
Oh.
Like, that was
Yeah, so
on your property. Like you.
I bought this house and it had a like a 30 by 30 or 30 by 20 something shop.
Okay.
So this here is my home garage, like attached to my house, which
Okay.
thank goodness I had this. But my shop is where I had everything that was important to me.
Mm.
Alright.
So that's the one that burned. So I was actually working with like my hand tools that I had like in my house and in my dump truck for the first like I guess month
Yeah.
because it took all my tools to clean, and I just got those back. I think this past week I got
Wow.
about half of my tools back, so I finally have tools to work on stuff. I was borrowing tools from my friends. I bought a new welder because I didn't have one.
Wow.
It's been a
Yeah,
struggle. But
I was a little curious. I
here.
didn't know if you were like at Derek's like garage
No,
or you know or whatever.
he's like an hour and 20 minutes from my house, so we're
Yeah.
close, but we're like Midwest close.
Yeah.
Like it's
Right?
only an hour drive.
Midwest.
Yeah, no,
Close.
same.
That's funny.
Same for us in Jersey. It's like, oh, E-Town's like an hour and a half. That's no problem.
Yeah,
That's
he
easy.
sounds an
That's
hour and a
fun,
half
that-
for me.
Yeah, that's
I will
easy.
say it's been cool this year as my like rookie year as a FD driver, and I was kind of an arrive and drive driver, which is sick. So I flew into all the rounds besides St. Louis because my
Yep.
car was in the trailer. And, like,
Okay.
I always say, like being a team with Derek, I paid for fuel and all that stuff, but
Right.
it was pretty cool. Like to fly, I actually hate planes. I hate flying, but I
Right.
flew into all the rounds and it was pretty fun.
It's
kind
good
of
for work, at
I'm a
least.
real race car driver now. I can just fly in and
Yeah.
here's my car, but then I still have to work on it the whole
Yeah.
time. So
Wipe
Here's
your
my car
hands,
and
you
my
know?
credit card.
Yep.
I'm like an arrive and work in my car driver, not really an arrive and drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's true.
You just get to take like if you can a little nap before you have to start sweating your ass off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's gonna be a small nap, brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Very small flight. Yeah.
Yeah.
This year, I'm gonna say it now. It's gonna be better. The car's gonna be better prepped. It's gonna have a dog box and quick change, so that should help set up a lot.
Yeah.
I do have some new team members coming on board.
Oh,
That
yeah.
should help quite a bit too. New spotter. And yeah, me and Derek
Awesome.
are working a little more together. Last year was more of almost a trial run, so we didn't
Yep.
know exactly how it was going to be teaming up. So we
Mhm.
had pretty much complete separate teams, and that did work. But by pretty much by Atlanta, we were kind of all working together anyway. So
Yeah.
this year we're working together to kind of combine teams, save a little cost, and
Hell yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Nice.
Works for me.
I don't know, I'm
man.
excited for it.
Hell yeah.
Car's gonna look different next year, which would be cool.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Because unfortunately, the half of my car burnt, so I can't really reuse this wrap. So
That's what he means by it's gonna look different. He's just gonna leave it there. Actually.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave the other side. The car used to be burnt orange, so that side's all wrap peeled off, burnt orange and burnt.
Yeah.
Hey.
Authenticity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, but awesome, buddy. Let people know
Cool.
where they can find you at and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Instagram is Coty Demster, COTYDEMSTER. TikTok, I believe, is Coty Drifts, and Facebook is also Coty Demster.
I'm still
Trying to
gonna-
post more, trying to get more content. Go ahead.
I said I'm still gonna call you Cody.
You're the worst.
It's whatever.
Honestly.
I'm not one to get offended by it.
I can't say Cody. I can't. I just can't.
should.
I look
You
at your
should be
name and I
offended.
see Cody, so I'm gonna say Cody. Coty.
Jared, for the awards banquet, actually, for the Pro Spec Awards banquet, the first sentence out of his mouth was, "This whole year I thought your name was Cody."
Yeah. Yeah.
The first thing you say. I didn't win any awards. I just got my name shouted out. Felt
That's
special
cool.
for a second. Take what I can get.
Broken the most parts.
I don't know about that, but I definitely have a handful. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But,
All right, Herbie,
yeah.
Sarah, what's going on with you guys?
Got fucking St. Patrick's Day, baby.
Oh, it's like
Yeah,
your favorite
we're-
holiday, isn't it?
My people's holiday, where
Both of
everyone's
ours,
gonna appropriate our culture. I'm gonna fire up a shepherd's pie, dig into that. I already went out last weekend with my cousin, so that was fun. And yeah,
Yeah, I
It's
won't
class,
I won't be
work.
having my corned beef until I don't know when. Until whenever my stepdad gets home, because otherwise my mom's not making it. So
Very nice.
I mean, we're gonna go out to the festival. We'll have a good time, and
Cool.
I'll just think about that until the remaining months until I have it.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah. I got a standard week as normal, so nothing cool going on with me.
Yeah, totally not going on crazy.
yeah, nothing happening. Not like a whole child entering the world, not creating a life.
Oh,
It's
that's
fun.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Big dad guy soon.
Yeah.
big dad guy.
It's cool because the kid's gonna come out as bald as you.
The
twins.
funny part is he has hair. That's
Takes
the
one to
funny
know one, I
part.
guess.
Well,
On the
We're
ultrasound,
gonna
he has hair.
Nate's afraid to take his hat off.
I don't
I
need to take my
gave
hat
up.
off.
I gave up on mine. He's still holding on to the locks. All right. I can make fun all I want.
Hey, at least it's a natural color, okay? Let's be fair here.
All right. Why am I catching straight? Okay.
was
I had
gonna
a little
wait, mine's
crisis,
pretty-
all
I
right?
was gonna say
No.
mine's pretty natural. I don't know.
I'll go back brown. I needed to like have a moment for the red. Needed to just,
Let out your crazy a little bit. I get it.
The
All right.
red's nice.
All right, guys. Again, thank you for checking out the show. It was a fun stream. It's kind of
Yes.
a glad we got it together thing. And
Yes.
again,
Yeah,
go check out
good
Coty.
fun.
I hope everything
Coty.
goes okay. It's Coty.
My mom wrote and thing. Oh my god, I can make it for the corned beef cat.
Yay! Herbie's getting corned beef.
Oh my gosh. That's
But yeah, thank you so much for coming on. We had a great time.
Yeah, me too. Thanks for having me. It's been
Hell
fun.
yeah.
For
Awesome.
sure.
Yeah.
All right.